Your wrists are broken, your lightsaber stolen, and the boy with fire in his eyes stares down at you. His blade trembles at your throat, but the voice behind him does not. Kill him. And in that instant you understand the cruelest truth of your life. You were never meant to rule, only to fall. But before the darkness swallows you, the memories return. Cold nights beneath Serenno's towers, endless lessons in the temple, the laughter of a Padawan you once called brother. You see the council that failed you, the republic that rotted, and the master who chained you. This is not the story of a Jedi. This is not the story of a Sith. This is the story of Count Dooku. So sit back, grab a snack, and let your imagination drift across the stars. And remember, if you enjoy this journey, subscribe, because the story of the galaxy is far from over. You open your eyes to a world steeped in shadow. The first thing you remember is the sound of wind brushing through the high pines of Serenno's forests, a mournful whistle that echoes through your bones as though the planet itself is breathing. Above, the sky is heavy with storm clouds, their edges glowing silver against the pale light of Serenno's moons. Your earliest cradle is not one of warmth, but of silence. Stone halls, towering spires, and the watchful eyes of ancestors carved into marble. Even as a child, you feel their judgment pressing on you, as if they know you are not meant for an ordinary life. The castle is cold, always cold. Drafts seep beneath ancient doors, and when you run your small hands along the stone walls, you feel the centuries etched into their cracks. The tapestries hanging in the great hall depict battles long past, victories carved out of blood and fire. Every story your family tells is one of power. Counts, kings, warlords who bent others to their will. And you, a boy with pale hands and restless eyes, are told you will inherit it all. Yet, when you look out from the balcony and see the forest stretching endlessly, when you smell the pine and the damp earth after rain, something stirs in you that no inheritance can name. You are different. You have always been different. The first time it happens, you are barely old enough to walk the castle corridors alone. A toy, a carved wooden soldier, slips from your fingers and tumbles down a flight of stairs. You cry out, desperate to hold on to the only thing that feels like yours. But instead of shattering, the soldier halts mid-fall, trembling in the air, suspended by invisible threads. You reach for it, and it drifts into your palm, as though the world itself obeys you. You don't know what to call it then. You only know that the moment felt like magic. But your family notices. They always notice. The ear faces harden, their whispers sharpen. Count Gora, your father, looks at you with disgust, not pride. To him your gift is a curse, something unnatural, something that threatens the pure, noble bloodline he has fought to preserve. He sees you not as a son, but as a flaw. Your mother is different. She hides her softness beneath regal poise, but in her eyes there is sorrow when she watches you. She knows the Jedi will come, perhaps she even prays for it, and though you cannot name the feeling yet, you already sense it, the pull between two worlds. The blood of Serenno binds you to stone and crown, but the invisible current within you, the Force, calls you elsewhere. Nights are the hardest. The castle grows quiet, and only the sound of storms keeps you company. You lie awake in your chamber, staring at the ceiling while shadows shift across the walls. Sometimes you swear you hear voices in the silence, not the servants, not your family, but whispers threaded into the air itself. They are not words, not yet. They are impressions, a warning, a comfort, a promise. The Force hums like a second heartbeat, and when sleep finally takes you, dreams of power and fire follow. The Jedi come when you are still a boy. Their robes are plain, their voices calm, their presence commanding in a way different from your family's pride. They speak of destiny, of training, of service to something greater than bloodlines and thrones. You do not fully understand what they mean, but their words feel heavy, like chains you are too small to carry. Your father resists them. He shouts, he rages, his voice echoing through the marble halls. "He is mine," he declares, as though you were nothing but property. But the Jedi stand firm, and your mother, silent all the while, finally lowers her head in resignation. That is the day you learn what it means to be given away. The shuttle that takes you from Serenno hums with mechanical life. You sit inside, small hands folded, eyes fixed on the shrinking forests below. The air smells of oil and metal, so different from the rain-soaked pine of home. For a moment, you think you see your father standing on the landing platform, but he does not lift a hand in farewell. He does not even watch the sky as you vanish into it. In that moment, something hardens inside you. You tell yourself you will not forget the cold halls of Serenno, nor the way its shadows seem to know your name. You tell yourself you will never forget the look in your father's eyes, the disgust, the rejection. You tell yourself you will return one day, not as a boy taken, but as something greater. The journey to Coruscant feels endless. You are surrounded by Jedi you do not know, their voices hushed, their faces unreadable. You wonder if they see you as your father did, a weapon, a problem, a burden. Yet every so often you catch one of them watching you, not with fear, but with curiosity, maybe even respect. It is the first time you sense that your difference might be more than a curse. When the ship finally descends into the endless cityscape of Coruscant, your breath catches. The skyline stretches farther than forests, farther than seas. Towers of glass and durasteel pierce the clouds, and the air hums with life. Speeders darting like insects, neon lights glowing like stars that never die. You press your face to the viewport, overwhelmed, the smell of ozone and city smoke replacing the wild breath of Serenno. In that instant, you know you are leaving one world forever and stepping into another. The temple looms before you, ancient and unyielding, carved with secrets you cannot yet name. Its stone steps feel colder than Serenno's halls, and as you walk between them, the hum of the Force grows louder in your chest. Here, the whispers you once heard in the shadows surge like a tide. You are not alone in this strangeness, and yet despite the warmth of the Jedi's words, you feel the truth gnawing at you. You are not theirs. Not really. That night, when they place you in a dormitory among other children, you do not sleep. The laughter and whispers of the others feel foreign, distant. You stare out at the night sky beyond the temple's windows, at the endless city lights blinking like stars. You wonder if Serenno's moons are still glowing, if your mother still thinks of you. You wonder if your father even remembers you at all. The Force murmurs again, louder now, and though you do not yet understand its meaning, you feel the chill of destiny settle over your skin. You are no longer a boy of Serenno, you are a child of the Jedi. But deep down, you know something the Jedi will not admit. You will never belong to them, not fully. The shadow of Serenno will never leave you. And it is that shadow that will one day return to claim you. Because even as you lie awake in the temple, staring at stars that do not belong to you, you feel it, the pull of home, the ache of rejection, and the faintest whisper of a future where you will rise, not as their servant, but as their greatest enemy. You don't remember the moment they take you. Not truly. What you remember are fragments. The sharp hiss of rain on Serenno's landing platforms, the low hum of a shuttle's engines shaking through your chest, and the way your mother's eyes never quite meet yours as the Jedi step forward. Their robes drip with storm water, their faces calm, unreadable, carved from patience itself. They say words about destiny, about training, about the greater good. But to you, they are not words at all. They are bars closing around you. You are only a child, and children crave warmth. Instead, you feel the chill of their hands guiding you up the ramp, away from the stone castle halls that raised you, away from the pine forests still breathing mist beneath the storm. You look back one last time, desperate for something, anything to anchor you. But your father does not appear. He does not stand in the doorway to claim you. To him, you are already gone. And your mother, though her lips tremble as if to speak, lowers her head instead. The engines drown out everything. Serenno becomes nothing but a memory swallowed by clouds. The shuttle reeks of oil and rain-soaked leather. Its walls vibrate with the endless pulse of engines, and you press your small hands against the seat as though it will steady you. The Jedi sit in silence, their hoods shadowing their faces. You wonder if they can hear your heart racing, if they sense your fear. They say nothing. And in that silence, you realize something. You are leaving behind not only your home, but your name. To them, you are not Dooku of Serenno. You are a youngling, another recruit, another tool. You stare out the viewport, watching the green forests recede into storms. The rain lashes against the glass, blurring the world you once knew. You try to memorize the way Serenno looks from above, the jagged cliffs, the rivers cutting silver paths through the earth, the glow of thunder cracking across the sky. You promise yourself you won't forget. You can't forget. Because if you forget where you come from, what will be left of you? The journey is long. Hours stretch into silence. You close your eyes, but sleep never comes. Instead, you hear whispers, faint, indistinct, threading through the air. Not voices from the Jedi beside you, but something deeper, something inside. The Force calls, murmuring like a tide beneath your skin. You clutch the wooden toy soldier hidden in your cloak, the one you saved with that strange, impossible gift. It feels heavier now, as though it knows what you are about to lose. When the shuttle finally emerges from hyperspace, you see it. Coruscant. Your breath catches. The planet is not like Serenno. It is not even like anything you have imagined. It glows like a jewel carved from fire and steel, wrapped in endless rivers of speeders. Towers stretch higher than mountains. Lights sparkle brighter than any stars you've ever known. The air shimmers with exhaust and ozone, and the roar of 1,000,000,000,000 lives beats like a second heart. Serenno was silence. This is chaos. Serenno smelled of pine and stormwater. Coruscant stings with smoke and fuel. And yet, part of you is drawn to it. Part of you wonders if this is what the Force has been whispering about all along. The Jedi Temple rises from the planet's core like a mountain of stone against an ocean of metal. It looks ancient, older than Coruscant itself, its spires pointing toward the heavens as if challenging the stars. The ship docks, the ramp lowers, and the smell of incense and cold marble washes over you. You step forward, your small boots echoing against stone, and in that instant, you feel something shift inside. The hum of the Force here is not a whisper. It is a flood pouring into you, seeping into your bones. You are not alone. You are surrounded by countless others who feel it too. The halls are vast, filled with light that spills through tall windows, casting long shadows across the polished floors. Jedi pass you as they move. Knights, Padawans, younglings like yourself. Their robes swish softly, their voices low. Yet even here, surrounded by so many, you feel isolated. You do not laugh as the others do, chasing each other down corridors. You walk slowly, observing, your noble upbringing demanding you measure every step. You wonder if the Jedi see the difference in you, if they notice the way you do not belong. At night, when the dormitory's quiet, you lie awake on a thin mattress beneath strange sheets. The air smells faintly of incense, the stone walls colder than even Serenno's castle. Children breathe softly around you, already lulled into trust. You cannot. You stare at the ceiling, tracing invisible cracks in the stone, and you whisper to yourself, I am Dooku. I am of Serenno. You repeat it until the words lose meaning, until they feel like lies. The Jedi teach you routine. Days bleed into one another. Meditation at dawn, lightsaber practice, study of ancient texts. You learn to sit cross-legged, hands resting on your knees, breathing until the hum of the Force drowns out everything. But you are restless. Your mind wanders. When the masters speak of peace, you think of the wars etched into Serenno's tapestries. When they speak of letting go, you remember your mother's eyes as you left. When they tell you the Jedi have no family, you hear the echo of your father's voice, declaring you his no longer. You try to bury those thoughts, but they surface in dreams. In those dreams, you are running through Serenno's forests, branches snapping beneath your feet, rain soaking your face. You hear whispers again, louder now, more urgent. Sometimes they sound like your mother, sometimes like your father, and sometimes like something else entirely, something dark, watching you from the shadows of the trees. You always wake drenched in sweat, the taste of fear still sharp on your tongue. One evening as you sit alone in the training hall, you feel it again. That invisible current surging within you. You extend your hand, reaching for a practice saber resting on the rack across the room. The air shifts, the saber rattles, trembles, then flies into your palm. The sensation electrifies you. For a moment you feel powerful. For a moment you feel like more than just another youngling. But when a master steps into the room, his face grave, he says nothing of pride. Only caution. Control, young one, he warns softly. Power without discipline leads to ruin. And so the refrain begins. Over and over you are told to restrain yourself, to let go, to be less. But you are not less. You are more. You feel it every time the Force surges through you, every time the whispers return in your dreams, every time you stare into your reflection and see not a nameless youngling, but Dooku of Serenno. Still, you endure, because what choice do you have? Serenno has forgotten you. The Jedi demand obedience. You are trapped between two worlds, belonging to neither. Until the day a small boy sits beside you in the training yard. His hair is long, his eyes bright with curiosity, his laughter disarming. He asks your name, and when you tell him, he does not flinch. He repeats it with warmth, as if savoring it. Qui-Gon Jinn. And for the first time since you were taken, you feel something unfamiliar, not belonging, not yet, but the faintest spark of connection. It is a fragile spark, one that flickers against the cold winds of the temple, but it is enough to keep you moving forward, enough to remind you that even in chains, you are not entirely alone, because though the temple gives you companionship, though Qui-Gon's presence begins to soften the edges of your isolation, the truth remains. The hunger inside you does not sleep, the whispers do not fade, and soon, as you kneel before the ancient green eyes of Master Yoda himself, you will learn the price of silence and the weight of destiny that will never let you go. The chamber is dim. Torches flicker along ancient walls of stone, casting restless shadows that bend and stretch across the Jedi Temple's training halls. You kneel on the cold floor, the rough mat biting into your knees, and you wait. The silence is heavier than any weight you have ever carried. It clings to your skin, it presses on your chest, it echoes in your ears like a drum that never strikes. And then, finally, it breaks. A slow, deliberate shuffle of footsteps, small in size but vast in presence. You raise your eyes and see him, Yoda. His gaze pierces you like a blade, ancient, unblinking, filled with the kind of wisdom that feels less like comfort and more like a burden. His ears twitch slightly as he studies you, as though he already knows every secret you have yet to confess. He speaks in riddles, his voice a gravelly murmur that crawls across the chamber, but you feel the meaning even before you understand the words. He tells you patience will be your anchor, that control will be your weapon, that the greatest enemy you will face is yourself. You bow your head, you murmur the words of obedience, but inside you seethe, because the Force does not whisper patience to you. It screams. It rushes through your blood like a storm, like lightning eager to strike, like rivers bursting through their banks. And every time Yoda tells you to still it, to quiet it, to bury it, you feel as though you are being asked to bury yourself. That is why it sucked to be a Jedi. Days melt into weeks, weeks into years. You grow taller, leaner, your hands more skilled with every saber you wield, your voice deeper, steadier. You rise before dawn to meditate, to let the incense fill your lungs until you choke on its sweetness. You spar with the other initiates, the clash of wooden training sabers leaving bruises on your arms, welts on your skin, fire in your pride. But no matter how hard you train, no matter how much sharper you become, there is always the refrain: control, discipline, patience. So you learn silence. You learn to hide the gnawing hunger that burns in you. When the masters speak, you nod. When they instruct, you obey. But in your solitude, when no one watches, you stretch your hand toward objects across the room and feel them leap into your palm. You feel the air shift around you, the current of the Force bending as if desperate to serve you. It is intoxicating, it is dangerous, and it is yours. Qui-Gon notices sometimes. He always does. He sees the way your eyes darken when you're frustrated, the way you linger in the training halls long after the others leave. But he doesn't judge you. He only asks, softly, curiously, why do you push yourself so hard? You never answer him. You can't. Because how could you explain the emptiness that follows you everywhere? How could you tell him that no amount of training fills the void left by Serenno, left by your father's scorn, left by your mother's silence? You simply tighten your jaw and say nothing. Silence is easier. Silence cannot betray you, yet the silence grows heavy. At night, when the temple darkens and only the hum of Coruscant's traffic drifts in through the high windows, you lie awake. The dormitory smells of sweat, of oil from training sabers, of incense burned down to its last dying ember. Children breathe softly around you, safe in the cocoon of belonging. But you feel the weight of distance. The Force doesn't lull you into peace. It claws at you. It shows you flashes of fire, of storms, of faces you cannot name. Sometimes you hear your father's voice, low and venomous, telling you that you are weak. Other times, you hear something far darker, a whisper like silk sliding through your ears. More. You are more. You wake drenched in sweat, your heart pounding like war drums. You turn your head to see Qui-Gon sleeping peacefully beside you, his chest rising and falling in rhythm, untouched by the torment that tears through you. You envy him, you resent him, and you care for him more than you will ever admit. Training intensifies. You are matched against older initiates, your blade sparking against theirs, your muscles screaming with effort. Masters circle like hawks, watching, judging, weighing your worth. And every time you falter, every time you show too much aggression, you hear the same words: too quick to anger, too eager to strike. And though you lower your head in humility, the words burn into you like brands. You tell yourself you are not wrong. They are wrong. They are blind. Still, you stay silent. Because silence is survival. The council watches you. Yoda watches you most of all. His eyes linger longer than the others, as though he can see the storm swirling inside you. Sometimes when he dismisses the group, he keeps you behind. He leans on his cane, his ears drooping, and he speaks of balance, of fear, of the dangers of the dark. You nod. You murmur the words of obedience. But the silence between his words says something else. You suspect he knows exactly what you are hiding, and that he is waiting to see whether you master it or whether it masters you. And still the years drag on. You become known among the younglings as distant, cold, unreadable. They laugh and play, chasing each other through the courtyards, their voices ringing like bells in the temple air. You stand apart, your hands folded, your eyes fixed on the horizon. Even Qui-Gon cannot always reach you. He tries. Force, how he tries. But you are a fortress, and silence is your wall. But walls crack. The first time you kill, it is not in war. It is not even on a mission. It is in training. A duel escalates. A strike is miscalculated. A fellow initiate falls, his chest seared by your blade. The smell of burnt cloth and flesh fills your nostrils, clings to your skin, etches itself into your memory. The hall falls silent. Masters rush in, voices sharp, commands loud, but all you hear is your own heartbeat pounding in your ears. You drop your weapon. Your hands tremble. You tell yourself it was an accident. But deep down in the place you never dare to speak of, you know the truth. For one terrible, intoxicating instant, you wanted it. The council spares you. They call it a tragedy, a lesson in restraint. They warn you, caution you, lecture you until the words blur together. But in the quiet of your own mind, you realize something else. You felt alive in that moment, more alive than you ever felt in silence, and the knowledge terrifies you. That night, Qui-Gon finds you alone in the courtyard, sitting beneath the temple's great statues, your hands still trembling. He doesn't speak. He doesn't scold. He only sits beside you, his presence warm, steady, unshaken. And for the first time you want to tell him everything, the whispers, the hunger, the storm. But you don't. You can't. Because if you speak it aloud, it will become real. So you sit together in silence, and the silence feels less suffocating, for once. Yet the storm inside you doesn't fade. It grows. And one day, when you stand before the council to be chosen as a Padawan, when you feel Yoda's gaze burn into your very soul, you wonder if they see it too. You wonder if they know that beneath your silence lies not serenity, but fury. You wonder if they will cast you aside like your father did, or if they will bind you tighter, chains hidden beneath the word discipline, because that is the truth you cannot escape. The Jedi demand silence. The Jedi demand restraint. But you are not silence. You are not restraint. You are storm. And storms do not obey. Because in the midst of that storm, one bond begins to take root. A bond strong enough to tether you, fragile enough to break you. A bond that will define not only your life, but the fate of the galaxy itself. The first time you hear his laughter, it startles you. It isn't cruel, it isn't mocking, it isn't wrapped in the stiff politeness of the other initiates. It's warm, open. It rings through the temple courtyard like sunlight breaking through storm clouds, and for a moment you almost don't recognize it. You've grown so used to silence, to whispers of judgment, to the heavy expectations that followed you from Serenno. But this laughter feels different. You turn your head and you see him, Qui-Gon Jinn. His hair is long, unkempt in a way that would make your father sneer. His robes are wrinkled from climbing trees he wasn't supposed to climb, his boots muddy from wandering places the masters warned against. Yet when his eyes meet yours, they are alive. Alive in a way the temple rarely allows. He waves at you as if you've known each other your whole lives, and for reasons you can't explain, your heart shifts. You are not the kind of boy who makes friends. You have built walls since the day you were taken. You've wrapped yourself in silence because silence is survival. But Qui-Gon doesn't ask for permission. He simply sits beside you beneath the courtyard statue, his presence comfortable, unassuming. He talks about things no one else dares to, about how boring meditation can be, about how the masters smell like incense, about how the temple feels more like a cage than a sanctuary. You almost laugh, almost. Instead, you let the faintest smile tug at the corner of your lips, and that is enough for him. Over days, then weeks, he becomes impossible to avoid. He finds you in the training halls, challenges you to duels when the others shy away. He sits beside you during meals, even when you try to push him away with silence. He tells you stories, wild stories about sneaking out of the temple to watch the neon lights of Coruscant flicker at night, about stealing sweets from Saint Rite vendors, about daring to feel alive in ways the Jedi discourage. At first you don't believe him. Then one night he drags you along and suddenly you do. You remember it vividly, the smell of roasted meats sizzling from street carts, the blur of speeders darting overhead, the taste of sugar melting on your tongue. Strange, intoxicating, forbidden. You remember laughing, real laughter, until your stomach hurt, and Qui-Gon slapping you on the back, grinning like you were brothers. And in that moment, you realize something terrifying. For the first time since you left Serenno, you feel as if you belong. But belonging is dangerous. Belonging is a weakness the Jedi warn against. You tell yourself not to let it matter. And yet, when Qui-Gon calls you brother, when he speaks of the living force with a passion that stirs something deep inside you, you cannot help but listen. He believes the force isn't a chain, isn't a rulebook, isn't the endless silence the Council insists upon. He believes it is life itself, messy, chaotic, alive. And when he says these things, you envy him, because he says them with conviction, with freedom, while you still hide behind silence. Training with him is different. Where others are stiff and careful, Qui-Gon flows like water. He adapts, he shifts, he turns every duel into a dance, unpredictable and wild. You spar against him again and again, your blades crashing, sparks flying, the scent of scorched wood filling the air. Sometimes you win, more often you lose. But losing against Qui-Gon never feels like failure. It feels like discovery. It feels like someone finally sees you, not as a weapon, not as a noble son, not as a burden, but as you. Still, the hunger doesn't leave. Even as you laugh with him beneath the stars, even as you walk side by side through the temple halls, the storm inside you never truly fades. Qui-Gon is a light, but light only sharpens the shadows. You lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, and you feel the force clawing at your chest. You dream of Serenno, of your father's scorn, of your mother's silence. You dream of power, of freedom, of a voice whispering in the dark. You are more. That is why it sucked to be a Jedi. Because even in friendship, even in belonging, the chains still clink in the dark. One evening, you and Qui-Gon find yourselves in the temple library, the air thick with the smell of parchment and old stone. The torches crackle softly, and the silence feels less suffocating with him at your side. He pulls down a text forbidden to initiates, smirks, and dares you to read with him. The pages speak of the early Jedi, of their battles with the Sith, of power the Order now denies. You feel your pulse quicken as your fingers trace the ink, as the words echo too closely to your own unspoken thoughts. Qui-Gon's eyes are wide, excited. Yours are hungry, too hungry. You snap the book shut before the hunger swallows you whole. Qui-Gon frowns, confused, but you don't explain. How could you? He doesn't hear the whispers in his dreams. He doesn't feel the storm clawing at his veins. For him, the Force is a river. For you, it is a fire. And fires consume. Time passes. Seasons change. The temple teaches you both in its endless, suffocating rhythm. Meditation, combat, restraint. But with Qui-Gon at your side, the monotony is bearable. He challenges the rules, questions the masters, even jokes about Yoda when no one is listening. You don't dare laugh aloud, but inside you do. He becomes your anchor, your tether to something human within the suffocating silence of the Jedi. And though you will never say it, he Becky, Ohm's your brother, But every bond is a blade. You see it the first time he is hurt. A mission gone wrong, a training accident, it doesn't matter. What matters is the sight of his blood staining his tunic, the sharp metallic scent flooding your nose, the fear that grips you so hard you cannot breathe. You want to scream. You want to strike. You want to tear apart whatever dared to harm him. But you don't. You bury it. You bury it because the Jedi will not allow it. You bury it because silence is survival. But you remember. You always remember. One day, you and Qui-Gon stand together on the temple balcony, watching the city lights flicker like stars. He speaks softly, almost as if to himself. Do you ever wonder if we're meant for more than this? More than orders and councils and rules? His voice carries the weight of curiosity, of freedom, of possibility. And though you do not answer, though you keep your silence as always, inside you scream, because you wonder the same. Because you crave more than the Order will ever give you, because you know the answer already. Yes, yes, you are meant for more, and one day you will take it. But for now, you remain silent, because silence is survival. And as you stand beside Qui-Gon, the brother who anchors you, you cannot shake the truth gnawing at your bones. The Jedi will never let you be what you are meant to become, and soon the chains will tighten. The sound of the temple bell lingers long after it fades. It is not a sound of music, not a sound of celebration, but a command, a low, vibrating toll that tells you to rise, to kneel, to breathe, to obey. Every morning it pulls you from uneasy sleep, and every morning you feel the same weight settle on your chest. You pull on your robes, you lace your boots, you tie your belt with hands that already know the motions by heart. The Order does not leave room for hesitation. The Order does not leave room for choice. The halls smell of incense and cold stone, polished smooth by centuries of footsteps. The younglings file in lines, their heads bowed, their voices soft with morning chants. You walk among them, but you are not of them. You never truly were. Serenno is still in your bones. Its storms, its forests, its silence. But here in the temple, silence is different. It is not nature's quiet. It is the silence of chains. That is why it sucked to be a Jedi. The lessons repeat, day after day. Meditation, combat, philosophy. Masters sit cross-legged before you, their voices calm, their faces serene, speaking of detachment, of selflessness, of surrendering all that makes you human. They speak of fear as if it is poison, of anger as if it is rot, of attachment as if it is a sickness. And though you bow your head, though you murmur words of obedience, inside you seethe, because you are not hollow, you are not empty. You feel everything, the loss of Serenno, the weight of your father's rejection, the ache of your mother's silence, the fierce bond of Qui-Gon's friendship. They tell you to let it go. You tell yourself you cannot. The training halls ring with the clash of sabers. Sparks fly, the smell of scorched wood and ozone filling your nostrils as you trade blows with other initiates. Masters circle, watching with sharp eyes, weighing every strike. When you move too quickly, when your blade cuts too aggressively, when your anger slips past your guard, they halt the duel. They lecture you in front of everyone. Control, young Dooku, control. The word becomes a shackle, hammered into your mind again and again. Control, patience, restraint, chains, all of them. And still, the hunger grows. You feel it in every mission beyond the temple walls. You walk the streets of Coruscant, the stink of fuel and sweat clinging to your robes, and you see corruption hiding in plain sight. Senators line their pockets while children starve in alleys. Crime syndicates rule entire districts while the Republic looks away. You feel anger rise like fire in your chest, and the Council tells you to breathe it away. You feel compassion claw at you, demanding you act, and the Council tells you to let it pass. They call it serenity. To you, it feels like blindness. That is why it sucked to be a Jedi. The Order speaks of freedom, yet binds you in every moment. You are told what to wear, what to say, what to believe. You are told who you may love, no one. You are told who you may mourn, no one. You are told that the galaxy is to be served, but never questioned. And when you ask why, when you let your voice break the silence, the masters look at you with disappointment. Their eyes say what their mouths do not, obey or leave. But you cannot leave. You have nowhere to go. Serenno is gone to you, your family cut from your life like a disease. The temple is not home, but it is the only roof you have, so you stay. You stay, and you kneel, and you obey, but inside the storm rages louder. Qui-Gon sees it. Of course he does. He always sees what others do not. One night, beneath the glow of Coruscant's neon skyline, he asks you softly, "Do you ever feel trapped?" You do not answer. You can't. To answer would be to break the silence, to admit what gnaws at you, but your silence is enough. He smiles faintly, sadly, and looks back to the horizon. He feels it too, though his chains are lighter. His spirit bends like a tree in the wind, where yours strains against the roots, ready to break. The council calls you to chamber after chamber, test after test. They weigh your strength, they weigh your discipline, they weigh your loyalty. You kneel on cold stone, their gazes burning into you, their voices echoing from high seats above. They tell you the Jedi must serve without ambition. They tell you the Jedi must never seek power. They tell you the Jedi are guardians, not rulers. You nod, you lower your eyes, you bury the truth. But when you leave the chamber, your fists are clenched so tight your nails cut your palms, because you know what they will not admit. The galaxy does not need guardians who bow. The galaxy needs leaders who act. But the Jedi fear action. They fear change. They fear themselves. That is why it sucked to be a Jedi. Years pass and the chains tighten. You rise in rank, you are sent on missions, you are praised for your skill, your wisdom, your restraint. And yet, each word of praise feels hollow, a mask stretched over a truth they refuse to face. You walk among them as one of their own, but you know you are not. You are different. You are more. The Force does not whisper peace to you. It whispers destiny. It whispers conquest. It whispers that you were not born to kneel. Still, you kneel. Because what else can you do? You are bound. You are trapped. You are theirs. Until one mission changes everything. You are sent to a distant world, a world forgotten by the Republic, where warlords rule and innocents suffer. You walk through villages reduced to ash, the stench of burning flesh filling your lungs, the cries of survivors cutting through the air. You confront the warlord, your saber ignited, the green glow painting his sneer. You defeat him easily, too easily. He kneels before you, broken, pathetic, begging for mercy. And in that moment, you feel it again. The hunger, the fire, the whisper, end him, and save them all. Your hand trembles, your blade hums inches from his throat. Qui-Gon's voice calls out behind you, steady, pleading, "Dooku, don't!" You breathe, you bury the hunger, you extinguish your saber, you turn your back, and the warlord laughs. He laughs because he knows the Jedi will not kill him. He knows the Jedi will not change anything. He knows he will rise again. And you realize something. The Jedi are not saviors. They are jailers. They bind themselves in chains, and in doing so, they bind the galaxy to corruption, to suffering, to endless war. That night, as you sit alone in the temple, your saber hilt heavy in your palm, you whisper to yourself words you dare not say aloud. The Jedi are blind, because as the chains tighten, as the silence grows heavier, as the hunger gnaws deeper, you begin to hear another voice, a voice not of the Jedi, but of blood, a voice calling you back to the forests, to the storms, to the name you swore you would never forget. Serenno calls, and you will answer. The summons comes quietly, not from the council, not from the masters, from blood. You are older now, no longer the silent boy who once clung to wooden toys and whispered to shadows. You are a Jedi, or so they say. Your robes hang heavier across your shoulders. Your blade hums with a deeper resonance in your hand. Missions blur together, corrupt governors pacified, border disputes calmed, the endless game of patching holes in a galaxy that refuses to hold itself together. You recite the words of the code as you were taught, but they feel brittle now, hollow echoes rattling inside your chest. And then, one morning, a message reaches you. Serenno. The name strikes you like a blade. For years you buried it beneath chants and meditation, beneath chains and silence, beneath the fire that the council forced you to smother. But the name awakens it all again. Serenno. The forests, the storms, the marble halls, the eyes of statues that judged you even as a boy, the home that cast you away, the home that still bleeds through your veins. You do not tell Qui-Gon when you receive the message. You do not tell the council its contents. You sit in your quarters, the holoprojector's blue glow staining your face, and you listen to the voice of your family's steward. His words tremble desperate. Bandits ravage Serenno's borders. Nobles bicker while peasants starve. The Count grows weaker with every passing year. They need you, the steward whispers. Your people need you. Your people. The phrase cuts deeper than any saber. The Jedi taught you that you have no people, that you are of the Order, and the Order alone. But Serenno calls you not as Jedi, not as Padawan, not as servant. It calls you as heir. The Council permits the mission, cloaked in diplomacy, cloaked in service. You bow, you murmur thanks, you obey as you always have, but inside, something stirs. This is not their missio. Nah, it is yours. The journey is a blur of hyperspace, blue stars streaking past the viewport, the hum of the engines rattling through your bones, and then the descent. The forests stretch out below, vast and endless, green as emerald, dark as memory. Clouds break, rain lashes against the ship's hull, and for the first time in years, you smell it again. Pine, earth, the breath of Serenno filling your lungs. It is home and it is foreign, familiar and estranged. You are a stranger returning to the cradle that birthed you. The castle rises from the cliffs like a wound cut into the sky. Its spires pierce the storm, its banners hang tattered, its stone walls weathered by centuries. Yet it is the same cold halls you once walked as a boy, the same statues that stared down at you, the same silence that whispered you were different. You walk through its gates, Jedi robes soaked, saber at your hip. Servants bow, nobles murmur, their eyes wide with awe, with fear, with memory. You are not the boy they once dismissed. You are a Jedi now, a knight of the Republic, but the air here is heavier than any temple hall. Here, you are Dooku of Serenno. Your father does not greet you. Of course he doesn't. Count Gora waits in the high chamber, frail now, but still burning with the pride that once cast you out. His eyes narrow as you step forward, his lips curl in disdain. He does not say welcome. He does not say son. He only says your name like a curse, and yet you bow. Because the Jedi taught you humility, because the Jedi taught you control. But inside, the storm rages. You want to shout. You want to demand why he gave you away, why he looked at you with disgust instead of pride, why he severed you from your blood as if you were a blemish on his name. You want to make him kneel, but you do not, because you are Jedi. For now, the days blur into politics. Bandits strike at Serenno's borders, villages burn, the people starve. The nobles bicker over coin and pride while peasants suffer. You walk among them, your cloak heavy with rain, and you see their hunger, their desperation. You hear their pleas, their cries for salvation, and you feel the anger rise again. Because the Jedi would say to aid them within the limits of diplomacy. The Jedi would say to maintain balance. The Jedi would say to let go, but you do not want to let go. You want to act. You want to burn away the corruption that festers here, to tear down the nobles who fatten themselves while children die in mud. That is why it sucked to be a Jedi, because the Order binds you with words while the galaxy bleeds. One night you stand on the balcony, the storm winds whipping through your hair, the scent of rain thick in the air. You look out across the forests and you remember yourself as a boy, staring at the same view, whispering to the Force without knowing its name. You feel it now, stronger than ever. Not a whisper, a roar. It calls to you, begging you to claim what is yours, not as Jedi, not as Padawan, as Count, as ruler. Qui-Gon finds you there, silent as always. He senses the turmoil, though he does not name it. He places a hand on your shoulder, his voice steady, grounding. You're not alone, he says. And for a moment, you believe him. For a moment, you feel the bond tether you to something beyond ambition, beyond hunger. But when he leaves, the storm remains. The bandits come again. You ride out with soldiers, your saber ignited, its green glow cutting through rain and smoke. You cut down raiders, their screams mixing with the clash of steel, the stench of burning huts filling your lungs. You fight not as Jedi, not as noble, but as something else, something more. The villagers cheer your name, their voices desperate with hope. Dooku, Dooku! They do not call you Jedi, they call you theirs. And in their cries, you hear the truth. They are your people, not the Republic, not the Council, Serenno. When the battle ends, you stand amid the ruins, rain washing blood from your blade. You look at the survivors, their hollow eyes, their trembling hands. You promise them safety. You promise them order. You promise them what the Jedi never could. And they believe you. But promises are chains, chains you cannot break. You return to the castle, to your father's cold stare, to the nobles' bickering voices. You feel the fire in your chest, the hunger in your veins, the storm in your mind. You could end it all. You could take the throne, silence their squabbles, bring order to Serenno with your own hands. You could do what the Jedi will never dare, but you do not, because you are still bound. Bound by the code, bound by the council, bound by the chains of the order. And yet, as you leave Serenno, as the ship rises above its forests once more, you whisper to yourself a promise that one day you will return, not as servant, not as exile, as ruler. The call of Serenno does not fade. It echoes, it festers, it waits. Because soon the storm will find you again, not in the forests of Serenno, but on a battlefield where the darkness itself will test you, and in that duel, you will taste the truth of what the Jedi fear most. The rain hasn't stopped in days. It clings to your cloak, soaks through your tunic, drips from the tips of your fingers. Each droplet is cold as stone, yet none of it chills you as much as the presence you feel pressing in around you. The villagers cower behind broken walls, their eyes wide, their bodies trembling, whispering your name like a prayer. But their fear is not for the storm. Their fear is for the man who waits beyond it. A warlord, they call him. A killer, they say. But as you step forward through the mud, your saber hanging heavy at your hip, you feel something more than a man waiting for you. You feel something deeper, darker, hungrier. The force roils like thunder in your chest. Every instinct warns you that this is not an ordinary foe. His presence crawls against your skin like ice and fire all at once. It feels like Serenno's shadows, like the whispers that haunted you as a boy, only louder, clearer, sharper. The Jedi told you the dark side was a path to ruin. But now, standing here in the storm, you do not feel ruin. You feel challenge. You feel danger. You feel alive. The warlord steps from the tree line. His armor is crude, patched together from scavenged metal and bone. His blade is not a Jedi's weapon, but something harsher, jagged, humming with crimson light. The villagers gasp. You ignite your saber, green light cutting through the rain, hissing as it meets each drop. The sound fills your ears, your heartbeat quickening, your breath fogging in the cold. You step forward, your boots sinking into mud. The warlord growls a challenge in a language you don't fully understand, but the meaning is clear. His blade rises, yours answers, and the storm erupts. The clash of sabers fills the night, every strike brighter than lightning. Sparks explode, the hiss of energy searing through the downpour. Each blow rattles your bones, the vibration traveling up you. Your arms, into your chest. The smell of ozone and burning metal scorches your nostrils. The warlord is strong, stronger than you expected. His strikes heavy, relentless. But you are faster. You duck, you parry, you twist. Your movements precise, disciplined. But discipline feels wrong here. This is not the sparring halls of the temple. This is not practice. This is survival. Every time you restrain yourself, every time you hold back as the Jedi taught you, his blade slams harder against yours, his strength threatening to break you. You hear his laughter through the storm, cruel, mocking, daring you to give in. And deep inside, something answers. You feel the hunger rise, the storm inside your veins. You let your anger flare, not smothered, not buried, but unleashed in a single strike that sends him staggering back. The villagers gasp again, this time in awe. Your heart pounds. The force surges, not calm, not serene, but wild, electric, alive. For the first time, you stop fighting like a Jedi. You fight like yourself. Your blade whirls faster, your feet moving with instinct sharper than any lesson. You strike high, then low, then twist, your saber slicing through the rain in arcs of green fire. The warlord snarls, his blade crackling, his power surging. You feel his fury, his hate, his will to destroy. And in that moment, something inside you whispers, this is not your enemy. This is your reflection. The clash becomes rhythm, like drums beating in your chest. Each strike is a question, each parry an answer, and with every passing moment, you feel yourself sinking deeper, teetering closer to something the Jedi warned you never to touch. The dark side is not a whisper now. It is a roar. It fills your ears, your mind, your blood. And you like it. That is why it sucked to be a Jedi, because they never let you feel this, because they told you this was wrong, because they bound you in chains, and chains do not win battles. Power does. You push harder. The warlord staggers, his blade faltering. You see the opening, the strike that will end him. Your saber rises, your breath sharp, your anger burning bright. You could kill him. You should kill him. It would save the villagers. It would end the terror. It would bring order. But then, Qui-Gon's voice. He calls your name through the storm, desperate, pleading. Don't. The blade halts inches from the warlord's throat. You freeze. The storm inside you screams for release, for blood, for justice. But you see Qui-Gon's eyes through the rain, steady, calm, filled not with fear, but with trust. Trust in you. Your hand trembles. You extinguish your blade. The warlord falls back, laughing through cracked teeth, his crimson weapon fading. Soldiers rush to seize him, to drag him away. The villagers cheer your name, their voices echoing in the storm. Dooku! Dooku! They call you savior, they call you hero, but inside you feel nothing of the sort. You feel emptiness, you feel hunger unfulfilled, you feel the storm still clawing at your chest, furious that you denied it. Later, when the fires are doused and the villagers safe, you sit alone beneath the dripping eaves of a ruined hut. The rain patters around you, the smell of wet ash and blood thick in the air. Your hands shake as you stare at your saber. You replay the duel in your mind, the speed, the power, the freedom. You replay the moment you almost killed him, and you ask yourself the question the Jedi forbid. Why not? Why not end evil when it stands before you? Why not use the fire that burns in your veins to bring peace, to bring order, to bring justice the Republic never can? Why not? Because the Jedi say. No, because the Jedi demand restraint. Because the Jedi chain you in silence. That is why it sucked to be a Jedi. Qui-Gon finds you there. He doesn't scold. He doesn't lecture. He only sits beside you, his hair plastered to his face by the rain, his voice quiet. I know what you felt, he says. I felt it too. His words sting, because you know he didn't feel it like you did. Not with the same hunger, not with the same storm. For him, the dark side is a shadow he resists. For you, it is a mirror. You say nothing. Silence is your shield. But inside you know the truth. You fought the dark tonight, and it felt like fighting yourself. And one day, you will lose. Because when you return to the temple, the council will praise your restraint. They will commend your discipline. They will blind themselves to the truth of what you felt. And in their blindness, you will see it clearer than ever. The Jedi are not protectors. They are liars. The council chamber is bright, painfully bright. Light streams in from the tall windows, pouring across polished floors, painting the circle of seats in a glow meant to inspire peace. But you know what lies beneath that glow. Shadows, secrets, chains. You kneel at the center of the room, head bowed, your robes still damp from travel, your saber heavy at your side. Qui-Gon kneels beside you, his calm face tilted toward the floor, his voice steady as he recounts the mission. His words are measured, respectful. Yours would not be. They call it a victory. The council nods as if they have accomplished something through you. The bandits were stopped. The villagers were saved. The order has done its duty. But you can still smell the burning huts, the charred wood, the stench of blood mingled with rain. You can still see the warlord's laughter when you stayed your blade. You can still hear the villagers crying out for justice, not mercy. And you know, as surely as you know your own name, that he will rise again. The chains of the Jedi spared him. The chains of the Jedi doomed them. That is why it sucked to be a Jedi. The masters take turns speaking. Yoda leans on his cane, his eyes narrowing at you. Mace Windu's voice is low, grave, each word sharp as a blade. They praise your control. They commend your restraint. They warn you, once more, of the dangers of giving in to anger. They say it as though they are teaching you something new. As though you don't already feel the storm gnawing at your chest every time you breathe. As though restraint is the same as peace. But you are not at peace. You bow your head, your silence an answer they mistake for humility. But inside, you rage. You rage because they sit in high towers, cloaked in wisdom, while corruption festers beneath their feet. You rage because they pat themselves on the back for victories that change nothing. You rage because they call themselves protectors, but all you see are hypocrites who turn away when the cost is too high. Later, when the chamber empties, you linger in the halls, your footsteps echoing against cold stone. Qui-Gon walks beside you, his voice soft, meant only for you. You wanted to kill him, he says. Not accusing, not condemning, stating, you don't answer. He doesn't press. That's the difference between him and the council. He asks, then he lets silence speak. But you know he feels it too. He knows the Order's chains are heavy. He just chooses to bear them. You are not sure you can. The whispers begin soon after. Not from the council, not from Qui-Gon, from others, from senators, from nobles, from voices you overhear on Coruscant streets, in the Republic's corridors of power. You walk past chambers where laws are debated, and you hear the words, Jedi lapdogs, Jedi puppets, Jedi blind. The Republic is rotting, they say, while the Jedi guard its corpse. And though you want to deny it, though you want to say the Jedi serve justice, you cannot, because you have seen the truth. You remember Serenno's nobles, fattened on greed while villagers starve. You remember bandits laughing as mercy spared them. You remember the council's praise for restraint while injustice went unanswered. The whispers follow you, coil around you, seep into your dreams, and soon you no longer resist them. You listen. That is why it sucked to be a Jedi. You begin to notice the cracks everywhere. Senators in jeweled robes feasting while children beg outside the temple gates. Jedi masters sitting in meditation while slavery thrives on the outer rim. Diplomats bribed, officials bought, worlds sold. You point it out once to the council, your voice sharper than you intended. You ask why the Jedi do nothing, why they kneel to corruption, why they serve a republic that rots from within. The chamber falls silent. Yoda's ears droop. Windu's gaze hardens. They tell you it is not your place to question. They tell you the Jedi serve, not rule. They tell you to let go. And you realize something you had always suspected. They know. The hypocrisy is not hidden from them. They see it as clearly as you do. They simply accept it. That night you sit alone in the archives, the glow of ancient texts casting your face in pale blue light. The silence is thick, the scent of dust and parchment heavy. You run your fingers along old stories of the Jedi, the battles they fought, the Sith they destroyed. Once the Jedi were warriors. Once the Jedi were leaders. Once they acted. And now they preach restraint while the galaxy crumbles. You feel your jaw tighten, your heart pound. The whispers grow louder. They have betrayed their own purpose, and so will betray you. Qui-Gon finds you there. He sees the fire in your eyes, the anger in your fists. He speaks of balance, of listening to the living force, of trusting in its will. His words soothe for a moment, but only a moment, because he is too gentle to see what you see, too pure to feel what you feel. He bends while you are ready to break. You cannot sleep. You wander the temple at night, the halls empty, the torches burning low. You hear the city outside, endless traffic humming like blood through veins, corruption alive in every corner. You look up at the statues of Jedi past, carved in stone, their faces serene, their blades raised, and you wonder if they too were hypocrites, or if the Order has simply forgotten what they once were. One day you accompany masters to the Senate itself. The chamber is vast, filled with voices shooting, arguing, bargaining. The air stinks of sweat, perfume, and lies. You stand on the platform beside your masters, their faces blank, their presence neutral. You watch as senators trade words like weapons, selling votes, bartering futures. You hear the whispers again, Jedi pawns, Jedi slaves. And this time, you agree, because as you watch, you see how easily justice is bought and sold, how quickly senators bend the truth for coin, and the Jedi stand silent, bound by chains of service to a republic that has no honor left. That is why it sucked to be a Jedi. You leave the chamber with your masters, your face calm, your voice silent. But inside, something shifts. You begin to wonder if the Jedi are not guardians at all. You begin to wonder if they are obstacles, obstacles to true order, obstacles to real justice, obstacles to you. The whispers do not fade. They follow you back to the temple, echo in your meditations, coil around your dreams. They say what you already know. The Jedi are hypocrites. They speak of peace while serving war. They preach detachment while clinging to power. They claim to serve justice while bowing to corruption. And as you walk among them, your saber at your hip, your robes heavy on your shoulders, you realize something dangerous. You are not bound to be one of them. You are more, because soon the mission will come where civilians die, where mercy costs lives, where Jedi blindness costs everything. And when it does, you will see the truth, not in whispers, but in blood. The smell of smoke lingers long before you see the flames. It seeps into the cockpit, clings to your robes, stings your throat with every breath. The transport rattles as it pierces the atmosphere, clouds parting to reveal the planet below. Once this world was fertile, fields of grain, rivers shining like silver veins, villages humming with laughter. Now it is ash. A black scar stretches across the land, plumes of smoke curling upward like fingers clawing at the sky. You grip the edge of your seat as the pilot descends. Qui-Gon sits across from you, his face calm, his eyes steady, but you can see it, the shadow behind them. Even he feels it, the wound in the Force. The hatch opens, and the heat hits you first. Hot, suffocating, thick with the acrid tang of burning wood and flesh. You step onto scorched earth, your boots sinking into ash. The wind carries embers that sting your skin, that glow briefly before dying in the mud. The cries reach you next, high, piercing, raw. Survivors. Villagers stumbling through ruins, their clothes charred, their faces streaked with soot and tears. Children clutch lifeless dolls, mothers clutch lifeless children. Every sound cuts into you like a blade. You taste bile at the back of your throat. You ignite your saber, not to fight, but to bring light into the smoke. Its green glow pierces the haze, casts long shadows across the wreckage. You walk through what was once a marketplace. Stalls lie in ruin, fruits blackened, tools melted, bodies strewn across cobblestones cracked from fire. A dog whimpers in the corner, its fur singed, its ribs showing. You kneel, extend your hand, and it growls, not out of defiance, but fear. It flees. And in that moment you realize even the animals know. The Jedi are too late. That is why it sucked to be a Jedi. The villagers see you and they beg. They fall to their knees, their voices breaking, their hands clawing at your robes. "Help us," they cry. "Save us." You feel their desperation pour into you, their pain like a tidal wave crashing against your chest. You want to promise them salvation. You want to tell them the Jedi will make it right, but the Council's words echo in your skull. Attachment is forbidden. Intervention must serve balance, not desire. You swallow the promise. You choke on it. You give them silence instead. The warlord responsible is not here. His forces struck, burned, and left. You can feel his echo in the Force, a shadow slithering just out of reach. He will return, and when he does, the Council has ordered negotiation. Negotiation with a butcher who leaves children in ashes. You clench your fists until your nails cut into your palms. The whispers gnaw at you. Why not end him? Why not now? Why not save them? Qui-Gon kneels beside a child, his hand resting on the boy's shoulder. His voice is soft, soothing, a balm against the chaos. You envy him. He believes his words mean something. He believes kindness can heal wounds fire has carved. But as you watch the child's blank stare, eyes too empty for his age, you know the truth. No words will heal this. Only justice. Only action. That night, you sit with the villagers around dying fires. The sky is black with smoke, stars hidden, moonlight dimmed. They tell you their stories, how the warlord demanded tribute, how they resisted, how he answered with fire. Their voices shake, but their eyes are steady when they look at you. They do not want sympathy. They want vengeance. And in their eyes, you see reflection. You see yourself as a boy, cast aside, powerless, desperate for someone to fight for you. And you feel the fire rise in your chest. You cannot sleep. The screams echo in your ears. The smell of burnt flesh clings to your robes. The whispers in your mind grow louder. You rise before dawn, your saber heavy in your hand, and you walk to the edge of the village. The wind is cold, sharp, filled with the faint scent of rain. You stare into the forests, where the warlord hides, and you imagine cutting through them, blade ignited, ending him once and for all. You imagine the cheers of the villagers, the look of peace in their hollow eyes. You imagine justice, and you want it. But when the Council's message comes, it is chains. Always chains. Seek diplomacy, they instruct. Do not strike in anger. Do not let vengeance guide you. You grit your teeth, your jaw tight, your pulse a drumbeat in your skull. You bow your head, you murmur obedience. But inside, you rage. Because the Jedi do not see what you see. They do not feel what you feel. They are blind. That is why it sucked to be a Jedi. The warlord returns 3 days later. His forces descend on the village, torches blazing, weapons raised. The villagers scream, scattering into the night. The smell of smoke fills the air once more, the crackle of flames rising into chaos. You ignite your saber, its hum lost in the roar of fire, and you charge. Qui-Gon is at your side, his blade a steady rhythm against the storm. You cut down raiders, their armor sparking, their screams filling the air. The Force surges through you, not calm, not serene, but fierce, electric, alive. And then you see him, the warlord, his face twisted in a grin, his blade crackling crimson, his laughter booming over the battlefield. Rage ignites in your chest. You strike, your saber clashing against his, sparks exploding, the ground trembling beneath your feet. Every blow is fire, every parry thunder, every breath smoke in your lungs. He is strong, but you are stronger. His fury fuels him, but your hunger drives you deeper. You overpower him. You force him to his knees, your saber at his throat, your breath ragged, your vision blurred with fire and blood. This is the moment. The villagers scream for you to end it. Qui-Gon calls for restraint. The council's chains tighten around your wrists, and you feel torn in two. The whispers return. Do it. End him. Bring order. Save them. Your blade trembles. You see the children's corpses. You see the villagers' hollow eyes. You see your father's sneer, your mother's silence. You see yourself, and you want to kill him. You want it more than you've ever wanted anything, but you don't. Your hand falters. You extinguish your blade. The warlord sneers, his laughter cutting through the cries. He is dragged away in chains, but you know chains cannot hold him. He will return. He will burn again, and you will be too late again. The villagers do not cheer. They look at you with hollow eyes, their faces twisted with disappointment, with betrayal. To them, you are no savior. To them, you are just another hypocrite in robes. That night, as you sit in the ruins, the silence presses on you heavier than ever. Qui-Gon sits beside you, his presence steady, his words soft. You did the right thing, he says, but you don't believe him. You never will, because you know the truth. You saw it in their eyes. You felt it in your chest. Mercy cost them everything. Restraint doomed them. Innocence died, and you let it. That is why it sucked to be a Jedi. Because if mercy costs the lives of strangers, what will it cost when it is someone you love? What will the chains take from you then? Soon you will know, and it will break you. You never truly understood silence until the moment it took him. It begins with the hum of engines, the hiss of blasters, the roar of a battlefield alive with chaos. You are not there, at least not yet. You are far away, in the sterile halls of the temple, when the first whispers reach you. Whispers carried not by messengers, not by soldiers, but by the Force itself. A tremor, a shudder that shakes you in the marrow of your bones. You stop mid-stride, your breath catching, your chest tightening as though an invisible hand clenches around your heart. Something is wrong. Something is ending. The council tries to keep it contained. They speak in hushed tones, their faces more guarded than usual. They tell you nothing, but you know. You know because you feel it. The echo of a blade piercing flesh, the shock of a bond severed, the cold rush of emptiness where once there was warmth. You feel him fall. Qui-Gon Jinn, your brother, your anchor, your light, gone. The news comes formally, only hours later. A council session. Their words measured, their voices calm, their presence suffocating. Qui-Gon Jinn has fallen, struck down on Naboo by a Sith Lord. They say it as if reading from a script. They say it as if detachment is virtue. They say it as though he was not your family, as though his death is just another line in the endless tragedy of Jedi history. You bow your head, because that is what they expect. But inside, something cracks. You see his face in your mind, the boy who laughed too loud, the Padawan who challenged you to duels, the young man who smuggled sweets into the dormitory. who dragged you to see the neon lights of Coruscant. You see his eyes, steady even when you wavered, trusting even when you raged. You hear his voice, calling you brother, speaking of the living force with that wild conviction that made you believe, even if only for a moment, that the Jedi coup will be more than chains. And now you hear nothing. That is why it sucked to be a Jedi, because even when your heart shatters, the Council demands silence. You walk the temple halls like a ghost. The walls seem colder, the incense heavier, the chanting of initiates hollow. Everywhere you look you expect to see him, lounging against a pillar with that infuriating grin, sparring with reckless abandon, sitting quietly in the courtyard, asking questions no one dared to voice. But he is not there. He will never be there again. The Force took him, the Sith killed him, and the Council, in their infinite blindness, will do nothing. You stand alone in the archives, the glow of holocrons casting eerie shadows across your face. Your fists clench, your nails biting into your palms until they draw blood. You whisper his name, as though the Force will answer. It does not. Instead, it whispers something else. Look, see, learn. You realize the Council knew the Sith were possible. They ignored the warnings, dismissed the signs, chose blindness, and Qui-Gon paid the price. The temple holds a memorial. Jedi gather in silence, their faces solemn, their voices low. They speak of Qui-Gon's wisdom, his bravery, his devotion. They praise his service, his obedience, his sacrifice. You stand among them, your robes heavy, your saber burning against your hip like a wound. You listen to their words and feel bile rise in your throat. Because Qui-Gon was not obedience, he was not silence, he was not restraint, he was life, he was freedom, he was everything the Jedi try to bury. And now, he is gone. You watch his Padawan, Obi-Wan, stand before the Council, face pale, voice steady, but eyes hollow. They grant him knighthood, a cold comfort, a bandage over a wound that will never heal. You see the boy's grief masked behind discipline, his silence mistaken for strength. You recognize it because you have ved it, and you know it will eat him alive, as it eats you. That night you walk the temple alone. The city hums outside, its neon glow bleeding through the high windows. You stop in the courtyard, beneath the great statues of Jedi past. You look up at their serene faces, carved in stone, and you feel nothing but anger. Qui-Gon deserved better than stone. He deserved better than silence. He deserved better than the Council's hypocrisy. The whispers come again, louder now. They failed him. They will fail you. The Jedi do not save. The Jedi only watch. The Jedi only take. You clench your fists, your breath sharp, your chest heaving. You do not resist the whispers this time. You listen. You let them coil around your heart, sink into your bones, because they are not lies. They are truth. That is why it sucked to be a Jedi. In the days that follow, you begin to change. You still wear the robes, still ignite your saber when called, still bow in the Council chamber. But inside, the storm is no longer hidden. It thrashes, it claws, it screams. You question every order, you resent every lecture, you despise every sermon on serenity, every command to let go, every word that demands you bury your grief, because you cannot let go. You will not. Qui-Gon deserves to be remembered. He deserves vengeance. He deserves justice, and the Jedi will give him none. You dream of him often. Dreams where he is alive, where you walk the streets of Coruscant again, his laughter echoing in the neon glow. Dreams where you spar in the temple halls, his blade striking against yours in wild rhythm. Dreams where he calls you brother, his voice steady, his eyes alive. And then, always, the dreams end the same. His body falls, his eyes dim, his voice fades, and you wake with a scream caught in your throat. Your hands trembling, your saber ignited in the dark. You cannot bury this storm. You cannot smother it with silence. You cannot kneel to hypocrisy any longer. And so, for the first time, you whisper the thought aloud. Perhaps the Jedi are not meant to endure. Perhaps something else must rise in their place. Because grief becomes anger, anger becomes clarity, and clarity becomes choice. And soon, you will make the choice the Council fears most. You will rise, you will break your chains, you will leave. The chamber is colder than you remember. You've knelt here countless times before, head bowed, hands folded, saber at your side. But this time the silence feels different. This time it isn't obedience. It's farewell. The council members watch you from their high seats, their faces cloaked in shadow, their voices heavy with authority. Yoda leans on his cane, ears drooping as he studies you with eyes that see too much. Mace Windu's jaw is sharp, his voice measured, his presence unyielding. The others shift slightly, robes whispering as though the fabric itself disapproves of you. They wait for you to speak. They expect contrition. They expect humility. But you have none left to give. Your chest feels hollow, carved out by grief and betrayal. Qui-Gon is gone, his laughter silenced, his light extinguished, his body left cold while the council debates in circles. The Jedi who claimed to be guardians allowed the Sith to return under their noses. They ignored warnings, denied truths, blinded themselves in the name of serenity. And now they sit here, daring to speak of wisdom, daring to speak of restraint, daring to demand your loyalty. That is why it sucked to be a Jedi. You rise slowly, your legs stiff from hours of kneeling, your breath steady but sharp. You look each master in the eye, and for the first time, you do not bow your head. You do not lower your gaze. You speak, your voice carrying not just words, but years of silence cracking open like stone beneath a quake. The Jedi are lost. The chamber stills. Even the hum of Coruscant outside seems to fade. Your words echo against the walls, a blasphemy spoken aloud. You feel it in your bones, the moment of no return. You tell them what they refuse to hear, that they are hypocrites, serving a republic that rots while calling it justice, that they chain themselves to a code that stifles the very life they claim to protect, or that they preach detachment while demanding sacrifice, preach peace while allowing war, preach light while fearing every shadow. You tell them they failed Qui-Gon, as they will fail all who follow. Their responses are as predictable as they are hollow. Mace Windu's voice is sharp, his tone condemning. Your anger blinds you. Ki-Adi-Mundi's words drip with condescension. The Jedi serve the greater good, not personal desire. Even Yoda, whose wisdom you once respected, speaks with disappointment. Lost you are, if this path you walk. But you are not lost. For the first time you are found. The council debates among themselves, but you no longer listen. Their voices blur, meaningless, like the endless chanting of initiates who never understood what they repeated. You look down at your lightsaber resting against your hip. For years it has been a symbol of service, of duty, of restraint. Now it feels like a chain. Slowly, deliberately, you unclip it. The weight of it leaves your belt, but not your heart. You step forward and place it on the cold stone floor of the chamber. The sound rings louder than any words you could have spoken. Gasps ripple through the council. Even their stoic faces flicker with something. Shock, dismay, maybe even fear. You meet Yoda's gaze one final time. His eyes are heavy with sorrow, as if mourning you before you are gone. But his sorrow is not enough. His wisdom is not enough. His chains are not enough. I am no longer one of you, you say, your voice firm, your silence finally broken. The Jedi are blind, and I will not be blind with you. The words hang in the air like a blade suspended, sharp and final. You turn your back to them, something you were never allowed to do, something unthinkable, and you walk. Each step echoes like thunder, each step heavier, each step freer. The doors hiss open, light flooding in, and for the first time in years you breathe. The temple feels different now. The stone walls no longer confine you. The incense no longer chokes you. The statues of Jedi past no longer judge you. You walk through the grand halls, through corridors where younglings whisper, where knights pause and stare, where masters lower their eyes. You hear the murmurs already. He's leaving. He's fallen. He's lost. You ignore them. Their words are chains, and chains no longer bind you. You step outside into the city. Coruscant roars around you, speeders rushing, neon signs flickering, voices rising from a trillion lives stacked on top of one another. For so long, this chaos felt suffocating, a cage of durasteel and smoke. Now it feels like air. You inhale, the scent of ozone and fuel filling your lungs, and for the first time you feel alive. But freedom is a strange companion. It does not come with comfort. It comes with emptiness. You wander through the lower levels, your cloak heavy, your footsteps uncertain. The city is alive with corruption, gamblers shouting in alleyways, spice traders haggling in shadows, beggars crying out for credits no one spares. You see it all clearly now, sharper than ever. This is the republic the Jedi serve. This is the world they kneel to. This is the hypocrisy they defend. You feel anger flare in your chest, not just at the republic, not just at the Jedi. at yourself, for kneeling so long, for obeying so blindly, for wasting years in chains. The anger burns, and you let it. You do not bury it this time. You do not smother it with silence. You let it rise. Let it fuel you. Let it whisper promises of what you could become without restraint. That is why it sucked to be a Jedi. You return to Serenno. The forests greet you with storms, the castle with silence, the nobles with suspicion. But the people remember. They call your name with reverence, with desperation, with hope. They do not see Jedi. They see a count. They see a leader. They see salvation. And as you walk through the halls where you once felt only judgment, you feel something else now. Belonging. Your father's gaze is cold, still dripping with disdain even in his frailty. But you no longer seek his approval. His scorn no longer matters. You are not his exile anymore. You are his heir. And when the day comes that he passes, you will take what is yours, not as a Jedi, but as Dooku of Serenno. The whispers do not fade. They grow louder. This is who you are. Not servant, not slave, not pawn. You are ruler. You are power. You are destiny. And though you do not yet know whose voice it is, you listen. You listen because it speaks what you already believe. One night as you stand on the balcony, the storm winds tearing at your cloak, the scent of rain thick in the air, you look out over your world. Serenno's forests stretch endlessly, dark and alive, lightning flashing across the sky. You feel the force surge through you, not calm, not balanced, but raw, unrestrained. You raise your hand, and the storm seems to answer. For the first time, you feel not chained, not bound, but limitless, and you whisper to yourself, the words of vow carved into the night, I will never kneel again, because the boy who was taken is gone, the Jedi Knight is gone. What remains is something new, something stronger, and soon the galaxy will know the name Count Dooku. The first time you hear them call you Count, it feels foreign, a title spoken like an echo, like a name carved into stone centuries before your birth. You stand in the grand hall of Serenno's castle, its torches flickering against stone walls, the scent of damp rain drifting through shattered windows. Nobles bow their heads, servants kneel, and all eyes are fixed on you. You are not the boy who was taken. You are not the apprentice who obeyed. You are the heir. And for the first time in your life, the title does not feel like a chain. It feels like a weapon. The air is thick with incense, burned in ritual, as your father lies dead upon his bier. Count Gora's face is pale, his pride extinguished at last, his judgment silenced. You stare at him and feel no grief, only finality. His rejection forged you, his disdain sharpened you, his cruelty pushed you to the brink of destiny. In death he has given you more than he ever gave you in life, freedom. The nobles mutter among themselves, their jeweled fingers twitching, their eyes calculating. They expect hesitation, they expect weakness, they expect you to stumble, to bow, to seek guidance. But you do not bow anymore. You rise from your father's shadow and let your voice cut through the chamber like a blade. You tell them Serenno will no longer be torn apart by greed, no longer be ruled by squabbling, no longer be weak. And in your words, they hear something they have not heard in years. Order. That is why it sucked to be a Jedi. Because the Order called power corruption, when power was the only thing that ever made the galaxy listen. You walk the halls of the castle at night, the storm winds rattling the windows, the scent of rain soaked into the stone. These walls are not cold anymore, they are yours. The statues of ancestors do not judge you now, they bow to you. You place your hand on the stone balustrade and feel the weight of centuries press into your palm, not as a burden, but as inheritance. Serenno is yours, and through Serenno, the galaxy begins to whisper your name. But ruling is not serenity, it is struggle. You sit in council chambers filled with nobles fattened on coin, their voices sharp, their greed suffocating. They squabble over borders, taxes, titles, their words spilling like rot onto polished floors. Once, you might have endured their noise in silence, but now you cut through it. You silence their bickering with a single glare, your voice low, commanding, undeniable. You remind them who rules, not them, not the Republic, you. The people see the change. They cheer your name when you ride through villages, their voices carrying like thunder. They bow not out of fear, but out of hope. You are not a Jedi here. You are not restrained. You are not bound by codes that demand you let them suffer. You act. You strike down bandits. You enforce justice. You bring order with a swiftness the Jedi would call dangerous, but the people do not call it dangerous. They call it salvation. Still, the whispers linger. Late at night, when the fires die down and the castle is quiet, you find yourself alone in the great library. The air smells of dust and leather, of parchment older than the Republic itself. You read texts forgotten by the Jedi, histories of kings and conquerors, philosophers who spoke of freedom through strength. Their words echo the truths already burning inside you. Peace is not found in chains. Peace is forged in power. You sit in the candlelight, your face carved by shadow, and you realize something you have always known. The Jedi did not save you. The Jedi abandoned you. Serenno saved you. Serenno calls you. Serenno belongs to you. That is why it sucked to be a Jedi. And yet, even as you rule, you feel the storm pressing closer. The Force hums around you, deeper than it did in the temple, heavier than it did on battlefields. It whispers not of patience, not of serenity, but of destiny. It calls to you in ways you cannot ignore, showing you glimpses of futures blurred with shadow and flame. You stand on the balcony, the wind tugging at your cloak, lightning tearing the sky apart, and you hear it. You are meant for more. You believe it. The Republic begins to take notice. Senators send envoys cloaked in flattery, their words dripping with false concern. They call you ally. They call you partner. But you see it in their eyes. The fear. Serenno grows stronger under your hand. Independent, proud, unwilling to bow. They whisper in Coruscant's chambers of your ambition, of your defiance, of your power, and you let them whisper, because whispers are the first signs of truth. But it is not just senators who notice. One night, as you walk the castle halls, the torches flickering low, the air sharp with the scent of rain-soaked stone, you feel it. A presence, heavy, commanding, cloaked in shadow. You turn, your hand on your saber, and there he is. A figure draped in darkness, his face hidden beneath a hood, his voice a silk thread cutting through the storm. He speaks your name, not with disdain, not with pity, but with recognition, as if he has been waiting for you. He speaks of the Republic's hypocrisy, of the Jedi's blindness, of the galaxy's rot. He says the words you have whispered to yourself in silence, the truths you have buried in your heart. He tells you the Jedi are pawns, that the Republic is a corpse, that the galaxy needs leaders willing to shape destiny. His words are venom. His words are fire. His words are truth. And as you listen, the storm inside you answers. He does not ask for obedience. He does not demand restraint. He offers power. Power not as chain, but as weapon. Power to bring the galaxy to order. Power to shape the future. And though you do not yet know his name, though you do not yet see the full shadow of what he is, you listen. You listen because his voice is the same as the storm that has always clawed at your chest. You listen because his promises are the promises you already made to yourself. You listen because you have already left the order, already cast aside their chains, already chosen your path. You listen because deep down you have been waiting for him, because soon the shadow will reach out fully and you will take it. And when you do, the galaxy will no longer remember you as Dooku the Jedi, but as Count Dooku, apprentice of the dark. The night is restless. Storms roll across Serenno, lightning flashing against the ancient stone of your castle. You walk alone through its corridors, the air heavy with rain, the torches sputtering in the wind that slips through cracks in the walls. You should feel at peace. Your people kneel to you, your title restored, your father's judgment buried with him. But there is no peace, not for you, not anymore. The storm inside your chest refuses to quiet, and then he comes. The air changes first, colder, heavier, like the weight of unseen eyes pressing down upon you. You stop mid-stride, your hand brushing the hilt of your saber, your breath sharp in your throat. A shadow peels itself from the corner of the hall, gliding forward as if the darkness itself obeys his will. His cloak is black as night, his hood pulled low, his presence unmistakable. Not a Jedi, not a noble, something else, something greater. He speaks your name. Not with disdain, not with judgment, not with pity, but with recognition. Dooku. His voice is silk over steel, soft yet heavy, sliding into your ears like poison you do not resist. You feel the force around him, thick, suffocating, intoxicating. Not the calm current the Jedi preached, not the blind chains of serenity. This is fire, molten and alive, waiting to consume. And for the first time, you feel like someone sees you as you are. He does not waste words. He does not flatter you like the senators, does not scold you like the council. He speaks the truths you already know. The Republic is weak, its leaders are corrupt, its laws are bought and sold while innocents burn. The Jedi are pawns, chained by hypocrisy, serving a system that rots. He tells you what you have whispered to yourself in silence, that you were never meant to kneel, never meant to obey. You were meant to rule. That is why it sucked to be a Jedi, because they feared this truth. The Seas, truth that now stands before you. You do not answer him at first. You only watch, your hand still on your saber, your heart pounding in rhythm with the storm outside. The lightning flashes, illuminating the edges of his hood, the curve of his mouth as it twists into something between a smile and a sneer. He raises a hand, pale against the dark, and you feel it, the force bending, not calm, not restrained, but raw and unyielding. A goblet on a nearby table trembles, lifts, shatters against the wall with a flick of his wrist. You flinch, not from fear, but from recognition. This is what you felt in battle. This is what you tasted in the storm of combat when you almost gave in. This is power, unchained, and you want it, but you are not naive. You ask him the question burning in your chest. Who are you? His answer is as simple as it is damning. I am your destiny. He calls himself Darth Sidious. The name feels wrong in your mouth like venom, but it lingers. He tells you of the Sith, not as monsters, not as destroyers, but as visionaries. He speaks of freedom through strength, of peace through control, of order forged in fire. He paints a galaxy not ruled by hypocrisy, but by will. And he tells you that will could be yours. The storm rages outside, thunder cracking, rain hammering the windows. You stand in silence, your mind torn. The Jedi would call this treason. The Council would call this corruption. But the Jedi are blind, the Council hypocrites. Here before you stands a man who sees you, who offers not chains, but freedom, not restraint, but power, not blindness, but clarity. You remember the villagers begging for justice while the Jedi demanded mercy. You remember Qui-Gon's death, the Council's empty words, their refusal to act. You remember Serenno? Your people starved while the Republic fattened itself. And now you remember his words. You were not meant to kneel. That is why it sucked to be a Jedi. You ask him what he wants. The smile deepens beneath the hood. He wants what you want. A galaxy remade, a republic torn down and rebuilt, not as a senate of cowards, but as an empire of strength. He offers you not servitude, but partnership. He extends his hand, pale against the storm-lit shadows. Join me. Take what was always meant to be yours. Your heart pounds. Your hand trembles. You look down at your saber, the weapon of a Jedi, the symbol of a life you have already cast aside. You remember the day you left it on the Council's floor, the day you broke your chains, and you realize you never stopped walking toward this moment. You do not take his hand, not yet, but you do not refuse. Sidious knows. He sees the hunger in your eyes, the fire in your chest. He knows you are already his, even if you do not speak the words aloud. He tells you the time will come soon. Wars are brewing. The galaxy teeters on the edge of collapse. When it falls, he says, you will be ready. And when it falls, you will not be bound by Jedi chains. You will be the one who shapes what comes next. He leaves as silently as he arrived, his cloak dissolving into the shadows, his presence lingering like smoke after flame. The hall is empty again, but you know it will never be empty for you again. The shadow is with you now. The shadow has touched you. The shadow has claimed you. You stand alone, the storm rattling the windows, the whispers of the dark curling around you. You walk to the balcony, the rain lashing against your face, the wind tearing at your cloak. You raise your hand, and for the first time, you do not restrain the storm inside. You let it flow. Lightning cracks across the sky, thunder shattering the night, and you feel it answer you. Power surges through you, not calm, not patient, not restrained, real, unyielding, alive, and in that moment, unity. Ow, the Jedi are gone to you. Serenno is only the beginning. The galaxy is waiting, and the hand of the shadow is already upon your shoulder, because the first task will come soon, the first command that tests not your loyalty but your identity. And when you raise your blade against those who once called you brother, you will know for certain, Count Dooku is no Jedi. The night you betray them, the air tastes different, bitter, metallic, like blood waiting to be spilled. You stand in the shadows of a war-torn world, the ruins of its cities smoldering beneath a blood-red sky. Fires lick at broken towers, smoke coils upward in black columns, and the stench of ash clings to your skin. Soldiers scream in the distance, their cries muffled by the thunder of artillery. The war has dragged on for weeks, and the Republic has once again sent Jedi to clean up what its corruption allowed to fester. And now, you are here, but not as their ally. The shadow has already claimed you. Sidious has whispered the truth into your ear. He has told you that this war is nothing but a symptom of the Republic's rot, that the Jedi are blind pawns marching willingly into fire. He has told you that the only way to cleanse the galaxy is through blood, and tonight, he has given you your first true command. You can still hear his voice, low and steady, echoing inside your skull. Strike them. Show me where your loyalties lie. Let go of your chain. That is why it sucked to be a Jedi, because they never gave you choice. Only orders. Only chains. And tonight, you will break them all. You step from the shadows, your cloak brushing against the scorched ground, your saber cold and heavy in your hand. Ahead, you see them, Jedi Knights, once your brothers, your comrades, your family. Their robes are torn, their faces smeared with dirt and blood, but their blades still burn bright against the dark. They fight with desperation, protecting soldiers who scramble for cover, shielding innocents who have nowhere left to run. You remember training with them, laughing with them, sparring with them in the temple's bright halls. You remember their faces young, unscarred, full of hope. Now they are targets. Now they are the test. Your heart pounds, your breath sharp, your chest heaved. Vi. For a moment, doubt claws at you. You hear Qui-Gon's laughter in your memory, his voice calling you brother, his belief in the living force that always softened your edges. You hear the Council's words, their endless lectures on restraint, patience, serenity. You see their faces, blind and complacent, ignoring corruption, ignoring suffering, ignoring truth. And then you remember Serenno, the villagers begging for justice, the nobles gorging on wealth, the people crying your name when you brought order where the Jedi only brought silence. You remember Qui-Gon's death, the Council's hypocrisy, the whispers of Sidious promising freedom, and the doubt dies. You ignite your blade, its crimson light burns against the night. Not the green of your youth, not the blue of your brothers, but red. Blood, red. The color of betrayal, the color of truth. The Jedi see it and falter. Their eyes widen, their strikes falter, their voices stumble over your name. Dooku? One of them gasps, disbelief thick in his throat. You do not answer. Words mean nothing here. Only the blade speaks now. The clash is immediate, violent, thunderous. Your saber crashes against theirs, sparks spraying, the air thick with the hiss of colliding plasma. You move faster than you ever have, your strikes heavy, fueled not by discipline but by rage. Years of silence, of restraint, of chains, unleashed in every blow. They fight back with desperation, their blades darting, their breath sharp, their voices pleading. Why? They cry. Why are you doing this? You do not answer, because the truth is too vast for their ears, because they would never understand, because the Jedi are blind. Your blade cuts through their guard, searing flesh, shattering bone. The smell of burning cloth and skin fills your lungs, screams echo, then fade into silence. Each strike is a memory severed, each death is a chapter closed. You feel the storm inside you surge, the dark side roaring in triumph, feeding you strength, feeding you clarity. For the first time, you do not feel hollow, you feel whole. That is why it sucked to be a Jedi, because they never let you be this. The battle rages, but in your mind it slows. Every movement is clear, every strike precise, every scream a note in a song only you can hear. You fight not as servant, not as exile, not as Jedi. You fight as Dooku, Count of Serenno, apprentice of the dark. And as the last of them falls, his eyes wide with betrayal, his voice choking on your name, you feel the weight of what you have done. You stand in the ruins, your blade humming, its crimson light casting long shadows across the corpses of those who once called you brother. The storm above breaks, rain pouring down, sizzling as it strikes against your saber. You tilt your head back, let the drops sting your face, and for the first time, you do not feel bound by the rain. You feel baptized in blood, baptized in betrayal. The villagers who survive do not cheer your name this time. They cower, they whisper, they look at you not with hope, but with fear. And for a fleeting moment, it stings. You were their savior once. Now you are their nightmare. But then you remember Sidious's words. Fear is the first step to control, and the sting fades. You extinguish your blade, the hiss of plasma dying in the rain. The battlefield is silent now, save for the crackle of dying fires and the distant rumble of thunder. You walk among the bodies, your boots splashing in mud, your cloak heavy with water. You look down at faces you once knew, faces you once trusted. And you feel nothing, no sorrow, no regret, only clarity. This is who you are. Later, in the shadows of your chamber, you kneel before the holographic form of Sidious. His hood is low, his face obscured, but his smile is unmistakable. His voice slithers into your ears, silk and venom entwined. You have done well. The Jedi will never forgive you. The Republic will never accept you, but they are not your future. I am, and through me, the galaxy. You bow your head, not in submission, but in recognition, because he is right. The bridge to your old life has burned. The boy who was taken is gone. The apprentice who obeyed is dead. The Jedi Knight has fallen. Only the Count remains. And in betrayal, you are reborn, because now the galaxy begins to change. Sidious's plans take root, and you will be his hand in the darkness. You will build armies, forge alliances, and ignite wars. And with every step, the Jedi will edge closer to extinction, without ever knowing it was you who lit the fire. War begins not with armies, but with whispers. You sit alone in the great chamber of Serenno's castle, the storm clouds outside flickering with lightning, shadows rippling across the marble floor. A map glows in blue light before you, galaxies sprawling in miniature, sectors and systems marked with symbols of loyalty and rebellion. The Republic believes itself unshakable, a monolith of order, but you see the cracks. You see the rot spreading through its Senate, through its corporations, through its Jedi. And where others see stability, you see opportunity. The air smells of rain-soaked stone, of smoke from burning torches, of ink and parchment left from scribes who record your decrees. You rest your hand on the table, fingers brushing across Serenno's crest carved into the wood, and you whisper the words Sidious once told you. Wars are not accidents. Wars are designs. That is why it sucked to be a Jedi, because they were never architects. They were tools, pawns shuffled across a board by men who understood power. And you have grown tired of being a pawn. Tonight, you become the hand that moves the pieces. You begin with alliances. The Trade Federation, greedy, ambitious, desperate for protection against a republic that taxes and exploits them. You meet their viceroy in secret, the air of his ship thick with the metallic tang of oil and incense meant to mask fear. His voice trembles as he speaks of trade routes and profits, but you hear what he does not say. He wants security. He wants freedom from Coruscant's chokehold, and you offer it. You extend your hand not as Jedi, not as noble, but as Count, as ruler, as architect. From there, more follow. The Techno-Union, its leaders wrapped in the sterile scent of laboratories, eyes glowing with greed behind polished lenses. The banking clan, their hands heavy with rings, their voices oozing with avarice. Each one bound not by honor, not by loyalty, but by hunger. And hunger is something you understand. Hunger binds better than chains. You travel the galaxy cloaked in shadow, your voice low, your presence commanding. You speak of freedom, of independence, of order unshackled by the Republic's corruption. You paint yourself not as conqueror, but as liberator, and they believe you. They kneel not to the Jedi, not to the Senate, but to you. The Confederacy is born in whispers, in secret meetings behind locked doors, in the hushed agreements of men too afraid to speak aloud what they truly desire. And you are its spine, its architect, its heart. But armies are not built on whispers. They are built on flesh and steel. You walk through the foundries of Geonosis, the air thick with smoke and heat, the roar of machinery shaking the ground. Sparks fly from forges where droids are hammered into existence, their metallic bodies clattering into ranks, their eyes glowing with obedient fire. The Geonosians swarm overhead, their wings buzzing like thunder, their voices clicking in chorus as they pledge themselves to your cause. The smell of molten metal burns your throat, the heat scorches your skin, but you do not flinch. This is the smell of destiny. Rows upon rows of battle droids stand at attention, their forms crude but endless. You watch as legions march in unison, their footsteps pounding like war drums. You imagine them flooding battlefields, overwhelming Jedi with sheer numbers, breaking the Republic's illusion of control. And for the first time, you see the war not as dream, but as inevitability. That is why it sucked to be a Jedi, because they never understood inevitability. They spoke of balance, of patience, of peace that never existed. You see reality. You see war as the only cure for rot. Sidious visits you in secret, his hooded form flickering in hologram light. His voice is smooth, dripping with triumph. You are the architect of what is to come. Through you, the galaxy will burn, and through that fire, we will shape it anew. You bow your head, not in servitude but in recognition, because you know it is true. And yet, in the stillness of night, when the forge is quiet and the maps dim, doubt creeps in. You sit alone in Serenno's halls, the storm winds rattling the windows, and you think of Qui-Gon. You think of his laughter, of his questions, of his faith in the living force. You wonder what he would say if he saw you now, building armies, forging wars, kneeling not to the Jedi but to a Sith Lord. You wonder if he would pity you, or if he would understand. You whisper his name to the storm, but the storm does not answer. Only the shadow does. The Republic begins to notice. Jedi whisper of unrest. Senators murmur of secession. But they are too late. Your confederacy grows faster than their suspicion. Systems defect in droves. Their banners raised not for Coruscant, but for you. You speak to them in grand halls filled with banners and cheers, your voice echoing across marble, promising liberation from corruption. They chant your name, Dooku, Dooku. To them, you are not traitor, you are savior. But salvation is built on lies. You know it. Sidious knows it. The Confederacy is not freedom. It is a weapon, a blade forged to cut the galaxy in two, a war designed not to liberate but to bleed. And yet you wield it willingly, because you believe the end will justify the cost, because you believe the Republic must fall for order to rise, because you believe the Jedi are blind and blindness deserves extinction. That is why it sucked to be a Jedi. You walk among your droid armies, their mechanical voices echoing in unison, their weapons gleaming. You feel the dark side pulse through you, deeper now, heavier, filling every breath, every heartbeat. You do not resist it anymore. You let it flow, let it sharpen your vision, let it fuel your resolve. You are not bound by chains. You are not silenced by codes. You are free. And yet, somewhere deep inside, the storm whispers of cost. You see the faces of the Jedi you once called brothers, the villagers who once called you savior, the boy who once called you brother. You bury it. You smother it, because doubt is weakness, and weakness is death. You raise your hand, and the droid armies march. The Confederacy is ready. The Republic is blind. The Jedi are pawns, and you, Count Dooku, Lord of Serenno, apprentice of Sidious, are the architect of the greatest war the galaxy will ever see, because the first battle is coming, and when the dust rises over Geonosis, the galaxy will finally see the truth. The Republic is not unshakable. It is fragile, and you are the hand that shatters it. You feel the heat of Geonosis before you see it. The air is thick with dust, the taste of iron clings to your tongue, and every breath burns like smoke. The world trembles with the roar of machines, the screech of Geonosian wings, the grinding of forges that birth armies without end. It is not beautiful, not like Serenno's forests, not like Coruscant's neon skylines, but it is yours. This is where you have built your throne, not carved in marble, not raised in gold, but forged in war. The arena stretches before you, a coliseum carved from stone, its walls towering, its sands stained with blood. It reeks of oil, of sweat, of death. Thousands of Geonosians crowd the stands, their wings buzzing, their voices a droning chorus that shakes the air. They chant not for justice, not for freedom, but for spectacle, for slaughter. You stand at the center, cloaked in shadow, your saber heavy at your side, your eyes fixed on the prisoners brought before you. Jedi, once they were your brothers. Once you walked the halls of the temple beside them, sparred with them, broke bread with them, endured the silence of restraint with them. Now they kneel in chains, their robes torn, their faces smeared with dust and blood. They look at you with disbelief, with betrayal, with anger, and you feel none of it pierce you, because this is the duelist's throne, and you are the one who placed them here. That is why it sucked to be a Jedi, because they never understood thrones, they only understood cages. The gates crash open, beasts roar into the arena, monsters dragged from the shadows of the galaxy, their teeth dripping, their claws sharp, their eyes glowing with primal hunger. The Jedi ignite their sabers, their colors flashing, blue, green, the colors of a past you have buried. The crowd roars louder, their wings vibrating in frenzy, the air alive with bloodlust. You watch from above your cloats. Kay sweeping the sand, your hands folded, your face calm. You watch as your brothers fight for their lives, surrounded by death, abandoned by the republic they serve, betrayed by the galaxy they swore to protect, and for a moment something stirs. A memory, Qui-Gon's laughter in the courtyard, his voice calling you brother, his eyes steady, trusting. You wonder if he were here, would he look at you with the same betrayal? Would he raise his saber against you, or would he understand? You bury the thought. Qui-Gon is gone, and you are not a Jedi anymore. The battle below grows desperate. Sabers clash against claws, beasts roar, dust rises in choking clouds. The Jedi fight with fury, but they are outnumbered, overwhelmed, and yet they endure, always enduring, always chained to their endless hope. The crowd howls for blood. You give the signal. The gates open again, and armies of droids march into the arena, their metal feet pounding like war drums, their blasters raised. The air fills with fire, with screams, with the hiss of energy bolts burning through flesh and stone. And then they arrive. The Republic's answer. Gunships descend from the sky, their cannons blazing, their engines howling. The sands erupt in fire and smoke, the crowd screeches in panic. The arena shakes as war crashes into its walls. Clones pour onto the battlefield, their armor gleaming, their rifles flashing. You watch as Jedi rally to them, their sabers striking like lightning, their voices shouting commands. What was spectacle becomes war. What was slaughter becomes chaos. You step into the storm, your blade ignites, crimson against the haze, its hum a low growl beneath the thunder of battle. You move through the arena with precision, your strikes fluid, your presence commanding. Clones fall before you, their bodies scorched, their cries silenced. Jedi turn their eyes to you, their blades meeting yours in desperate rhythm. Sparks fly, dust swirls, sweat stings your eyes. Every clash is fire, every strike thunder, every parry lightning in your veins. You are alive in a way the Jedi never let you be. That is why it sucked to be a Jedi, because they feared this, because they feared you. And then you face him, Obi-Wan Kenobi, the boy you once watched in the temple halls, quiet, steady, Qui-Gon's shadow. His saber hums blue against your red, his eyes burning with conviction, with pain, with the weight of his master's death. Every strike he throws is for Qui-Gon. Every parry is vengeance wrapped in discipline. You feel his anger, his grief, his hunger for justice, and you smile, because you see yourself in him. Your blades crash, sparks showering, the heat of plasma burning your skin. You twist, you strike, you force him back step by step. His resolve is strong, but his technique is raw, fueled by emotion he refuses to admit. You taunt him, your voice low, venom dripping from every word. You fight well, for a boy still bound by chains. His eyes flare, his strikes grow wild, and you see it, the storm inside him, the fire the Jedi will never let him wield. For a moment you almost pity him, almost. Then the boy comes, Anakin Skywalker. His blade burns blue, his eyes wild with fury, his strikes heavy, reckless, unstoppable. He charges at you with the storm of youth, the hunger of destiny, the fire of a sun barely contained. His blade crashes against yours again and again, each strike threatening to break you, each roar echoing with unspoken rag. You parry, you dodge, you strike, sparks flying in a symphony of war. And for the first time in years, you feel yourself tested, not by a council member, not by a master, but by a boy unshackled. The duel rages across the arena, your cloak torn, your breath sharp, your muscles screaming. Obi-Wan joins him, his strikes weaving with Anakin's in a rhythm of fury and discipline. 2 blades against yours, 2 storms against your fire. For a moment they drive you back, their sabers flashing in relentless arcs. The crowd is gone, the battle around you forgotten. There is only this duel, only the throne you carve with every strike, and then you take his hand. Anakin screams as your blade slices through flesh, his saber falling, his fury spilling into the sand. Obi-Wan shouts, his blade striking harder, faster, desperate to shield the boy. You stand tall, your blade humming, your breath heavy, your eyes calm. You could kill them both. You could end the legacy of Qui-Gon here in the blood and dust of Geonosis. But you don't, not yet, because Sidious whispers of patience, of plans greater than a single duel. And so you leave them broken, but alive. The battle rages on, the arena collapsing into fire and smoke, the Confederacy retreating to fight another day. You board your ship, your cloak heavy, your saber dark, your body aching. You stand at the viewport as Geonosis burns below, as clones and Jedi claim their first victory in a war you designed, and you smile. Because even in victory, the Republic has lost. Even in survival, the Jedi have begun to die. This is your throne, not a chair of stone, not a crown of gold. A throne carved in war, in duels, in betrayal. A throne of fire, a throne of blood, a throne of storms. Because now the war has begun, and though the galaxy believes the Jedi lead it, you know the truth. They are not leaders, they are pawns. And you hold the steam. Rings. The chamber is dark, lit only by the pale blue glow of a hologram. You kneel on one knee, your cloak heavy around your shoulders, your head bowed. The air smells of cold metal, of dust, of ozone clinging to the circuits that hum around you. The voice speaks from the shadows, steady, commanding, silk wrapped around steel. It calls you my apprentice, Sidious. Every time you hear the name, it coils tighter around you, like a chain you cannot see but feel pulling at your throat, your wrists, your mind. He speaks of war, of moves across the board, of armies clashing in his grand design. He speaks of you not as count, not as ruler, not as man, but as peace, a piece to be moved, a puppet to be danced. That is why it sucked to be a Jedi, because you left one master only to kneel to another. He gives commands, and you obey. He tells you which systems must fall, which alliances must be forged, which Jedi must be bled on the battlefield. You nod, you listen, you carry his will into the galaxy. And each time the whisper gnaws deeper. Am I free, or am I chained still? You remember the day you left the Order. You promised yourself never to kneel again. You swore you would never let another hand pull your strings. And yet, here you are, kneeling, not before Yoda, not before Windu, before Sidious. You tell yourself it is different. You tell yourself you serve not out of submission, but out of choice, that his vision is your vision, his war your war, his galaxy your galaxy. But the truth is sharper. The truth cuts like your saber's edge. You obey him, and obedience is a chain, no matter who fastens it. His plans consume you. You sit at vast tables with separatist leaders, fat bankers with jeweled fingers, pale technocrats with glowing lenses, greedy viceroys who reek of incense and fear. Their voices drone about profits, about trade routes, about credits. They believe they are partners, that the Confederacy is theirs. But you know the truth. You are their master, and Sidious is yours. The war stretches on. You command fleets from orbit, their cannons pounding worlds into submission. You watch legions of droids march across deserts, through jungles, into cities where civilians scream as buildings crumble. You duel Jedi again and again, their blades clashing with yours, their faces twisted in disbelief that one of their own has become this. Some you kill, some you spare, not out of mercy, but out of calculation. Every battle is theater, every death is part of the design. But at night, when the forge is quiet and the maps dim, you find yourself alone. You sit in your chamber, the storm winds rattling the windows of Serenno's castle, and you stare into the fire. You remember Qui-Gon's laughter. You remember the villagers' cries. You remember your vow, never kneel again. And yet you kneel still. You feel it in your bones. You are not free. You are a weapon in Sidious's hand. That is why it sucked to be a Jedi, because the chains never truly broke. They only changed hands. The doubt festers. You begin to question Sidious in small ways. A hesitation here, a silence there. He notices. He always notices. His voice grows sharper, colder, more venomous. Do not mistake your role, my apprentice. You are nothing without me. His words pierce deeper than you want to admit, because part of you fears they are true. You test your power in secret. You gather nobles on Serenno, whispering to them of a confederacy, not just under Sidious, but under you. You let them see you as savior, as ruler, as leader of destiny, and for a moment you believe it. For a moment you believe you could cut the strings. But then the hologram glows again, and Sidious's shadow fills the chamber. He speaks your name, and your heart tightens. He gives another command, and you obey. Because as much as you dream of freedom, the truth is cruel. Sidious is not Yoda. Sidious is not the council. Sidious is not bound by chains. He is the hand that holds them, and if you defy him, the chains will choke you. You see it in his eyes, those burning, hidden eyes beneath the hood. You see it in the way he smiles when you kneel. He knows your hunger, he knows your pride, he knows your doubt, and he uses it. Every whisper, every order, every promise is another string tied tighter around your soul. You wonder in your darkest moments if this was always your destiny, if all your rebellion, all your fire, all your anger was never freedom, but only fuel for another master's fire. If you were never meant to break chains, only to wear new ones. That night, you dream of Qui-Gon. He stands in the temple courtyard, laughing, alive, his saber at his hip, his eyes steady. He looks at you, and he asks one question. Whose hand moves you now, brother? You wake with a start. Your breath ragged, your chest tight, your saber ignited in the dark, and the only answer you have is silence. That is why it sucked to be a Jedi. Because even when you left them, you never truly left the chains. Because soon, the war will grow darker. Sidious's plans will tighten around you, and you will be forced to ask the question you have buried too long. Are you his apprentice or his prisoner? The firelight flickers against stone walls, and for the first time in years, you are afraid of your own reflection. You sit alone in Serenno's castle, the storm raging outside, rain lashing against stained glass, thunder rattling the halls like the drumbeat of war. The chamber is silent, but for the hiss of logs crackling in the hearth. The air smells of smoke and rain, of wax from the candles burning low on the table. You rise slowly, your cloak dragging against the floor, your boots heavy, and you walk toward the tall mirror mounted between two statues of your ancestors. Its frame is carved in silver, polished, pristine, but the face staring back at you is not. Your beard is streaked with gray, your eyes hollow, your cheekbones sharp from years of hunger. Not for food, but for power. You see the lines carved deep into your skin, the heaviness etched across your brow. But it isn't age that haunts you, it's what lies beneath. The reflection looks at you, not with calm, not with serenity, but with hunger, a predator's hunger. You lift your hand, and the figure lifts his. The firelight gleams against your ring, the sigil of Serenno, and against the hilt of your saber. Not green, not blue, red. And for the first time, you admit it. The Jedi were right. You have become the thing they always feared. That is why it sucked to be a Jedi, because they never gave you space to be human. They forced you to choose between silence and shadow, and when you chose shadow, you found yourself here, face to face with a monster. You remember the first time you killed one of your brothers. You remember his voice as he gasped your name, his saber falling from his hand, his eyes wide with disbelief. You told yourself it was necessary, that it was war, that it was destiny. You told yourself he would have struck you down if you hadn't struck first. But when you look into the mirror now, you don't see necessity. You see blood. You see betrayal. You see yourself, and you wonder if the monster was always there, waiting, hidden, buried under chains until someone cut them loose. The storm outside grows louder, the wind howling like the voices of the dead. You close your eyes, and you hear them. Qui-Gon's laughter turning into silence. The villagers' cries as flames consumed their homes. the screams of Jedi who once sparred beside you, their voices breaking as your blade pierced them. Their echoes claw at you, gnawing at your chest. You try to bury them, but tonight the storm will not let you. Tonight the mirror forces you to see. You turn away, but the reflection stays with you. You see it in the glass of the window, in the dark pools of spilled wine, in the polished steel of your saber. The monster follows, mocking, whispering. You wanted freedom, you wanted power, you wanted destiny. And look at you now, a puppet in red, a hand of darkness, a ghost of who you were. You walk the halls of the castle, your footsteps echoing, the torches sputtering in the drafts. Statues of your ancestors watch in silence, their marble eyes cold. Once, you thought they judged you. Now, you think they pity you. You stop at one statue, an old Count of Serenno, blade in hand, face stern. You stare into his stone eyes and whisper, "Was I ever free? Or was I always doomed to this?" The statue does not answer. The storm does. Thunder cracks and the walls tremble. That is why it sucked to be a Jedi. Because you left them to escape judgment, and yet you judge yourself more cruelly than they ever did. Sleep does not come. You drift through memory instead. Visions bleeding into the night. You see yourself as a boy on Serenno, looking out at the forests, whispering to the Force before you even knew its name. You see yourself as a Padawan, kneeling in the temple, your heart burning while the Council demanded silence. You see yourself as a knight, blade green, standing beside Qui-Gon as the galaxy spun, as the Order chained you tighter with every breath. And then you see yourself now, crimson blade in hand, armies marching at your command, blood staining your soul. The boy is gone, the brother is gone, only the monster remains. But the cruelest truth is this: you do not hate the monster, you need him. Without him, Serenno would have fallen. Without him, the Confederacy would have crumbled. Without him, the galaxy would still be rotting under the Republic's chains. The monster is the only reason you matter. And so, you hate him, and you love him. You want to kill him, and you want to keep him. He is you, and you are him. You whisper into the fire, "What have I become?" And for a moment you think you hear an answer, not from the mirror, not from the storm, from within. A voice smooth, familiar, insidious. Sidious. You have become what you were always meant to be. The words coil around your heart. You want to believe them. You want to reject them, both at once. Because if he is right, then all of this, all the pain, all the betrayal, all the blood, was never choice. It was destiny. And if he is wrong, then you are nothing more than cowardice and hunger wrapped in robes. That night, you cannot stay in the castle. You walk into the storm, the rain soaking your cloak, the wind tearing at your hair. The forests of Serenno stretch before you, dark and endless, the scent of pine thick in the air. Lightning splits the sky, illuminating the trees in flashes of white. You ignite your saber, its crimson glow casting a pool of light against the storm. You raise it high, your breath ragged, your heart screaming, and you strike at the trees. You cut them down one after another, your blade roaring, your arms burning, your fury spilling into every stroke. Splinters fly, the scent of scorched wood fill. Lusts the air. The rain hisses against the blade. You fight not enemies, not beasts, not Jedi. You fight yourself. You fight the monster in the mirror. And no matter how many trees you fell, he does not die. He is still there, still staring back, still whispering. You collapse in the mud, your saber extinguished, the rain pounding against your back. You stare into the puddle forming beside you, and there he is again, the reflection, the monster. You smash your fist into the water, but it ripples only to return, always there, always waiting, always you. That is why it sucked to be a Jedi, because they were right, because they feared the storm, and you became it. You return to the castle, soaked, broken, trembling. You strip off your cloak, drop your saber onto the stone floor, and sink into a chair before the fire. The storm outside begins to quiet, but the storm inside you does not. You stare into the flames, and you know, there is no going back. The mirror has shown you what you are. The Jedi would not take you. The Republic would not accept you. And Sidious, he will never let you go. But a question burns hotter than the fire, louder than the storm. If you are the monster, if you are the puppet, if you are the weapon, what happens when the monster turns on its master? Because the whispers will grow louder, the strings will tighten, and soon you will be forced to choose. Remain Sidious's puppet, or become the hand that cuts the strings, even if it means betraying the only master you have left. The betrayal does not come with a scream, it comes with a whisper. You kneel in shadow, as you have countless times before, the blue glow of the holoprojector painting your face in ghost light. Sidious's hooded form flickers above you, his voice a low growl that coils around your mind like smoke. He speaks of war fronts, of Jedi casualties, of Republic weakness. His tone is steady, calm, measured, but beneath it, you feel something shift, a fracture in the voice that once sounded like destiny, a pause where once there was certainty. You lift your head, just slightly, your eyes narrowing, and then you hear it. Another name, a name spoken with more promise than yours. Skywalker. Your stomach knots, your breath stills, the storm in your chest roars louder than the thunder outside the castle walls. Skywalker. Always Skywalker, the boy you scarred on Geonosis, the boy whose fury burned hotter than restraint, whose strikes shook your blade like the fist of a god, the boy who was Qui-Gon's dream, twisted into reality. And now, you hear it in Sidious's voice. The boy is no longer just an enemy. He is a candidate, a successor. That is why it sucked to be a Jedi. Because you left one master only to kneel to another. And no matter how far you rose, you were always replaceable. You clench your fists, the leather of your gloves creaking. Sidious continues to speak of plans, of battles, of the Confederacy's victories and failures. But his words blur. You hear only the name, Skywalker, like a blade pressed against your throat, like a wound reopened. For years you believed you were the heir of the Sith. You believed you were the apprentice destined to inherit the galaxy. You believed you were the storm that would consume the Jedi, the Republic, the Senate, all of it. And now, you hear the truth. You are a tool, nothing more. You end the transmission with trembling hands. The chamber is silent again, save for the hum of the projector dying down, the crackle of the fire behind you. You rise slowly, your chest heavy, your breath sharp. You walk to the mirror, and once more the monster looks back. But now, the monster looks smaller, diminished, used, a puppet dressed as a king. You whisper to the reflection, your voice hoarse. Am I nothing to him? The reflection does not answer, but you already know. The war rages on. You attend councils, give orders, command fleets. You wear the mask of power, the cloak of certainty. But inside, the storm eats at you. Every battle you win feels hollow. Every alliance you forge feels false. You watch separatist leaders squabble over profits and territories, their voices shrill, their greed insatiable. You quiet them with a glare, silence them with a threat. But you know the truth. They do not follow you. They follow Sidious. They follow the war he designed, the war you are only pretending to lead. And every time you ignite your blade, every time you face a Jedi on the battlefield, you wonder if Skywalker is out there, his saber raised, his fury unbound, his destiny already entwined with the master who once called you chosen. That is why it sucked to be a Jedi. Because even when you abandoned them, even when you embraced the dark, even when you built armies and forged wars, you were never free. One night, you dream. You dream of Qui-Gon. He stands in the temple courtyard, alive, his face calm, his eyes filled with the same unshakable faith he always carried. He looks at you with sadness, not anger. He says one word, brother. And then Skywalker steps from behind him, his saber ignited, his eyes burning. Qui-Gon reaches for you, but Skywalker cuts him down, his laughter echoing, his blade red instead of blue. You wake with a scream caught in your throat, your saber ignited in your hand, the smell of ozone stinging your nostrils. The fire still burns in the hearth, but you are cold, colder than ever. The whispers begin to change. Where once Sidious's voice brought you clarity, now it brings doubt. You question his motives. You question his promises. You question the path that led you here. You walk Serenno's halls at night, torches casting long shadows across the walls, and you wonder if you traded one cage for another. If you cut one chain only to be bound tighter by the next. You kneel again before the holoprojector days later. Sidious speaks of new plans, new battles, new sacrifices, and you ask quietly, cautiously, "And what of me, my master? What future do you see for me?" The hood tilts. The hidden mouth curls into a smile you cannot see but feel. Your place is here, for now. The words slice deeper than any blade. For now, not forever, not destiny, temporary, replaceable. You bow your head, but your silence hides fury. You want to scream, to ignite your blade and cleave the hologram in two. You want to demand why Skywalker's name carries more weight than yours. You want to ask if all your blood, all your sacrifices, all your betrayals were meaningless. But you don't, because you know the truth. The Sith do not share power. They consume it. And one day, he will consume you too. That night, you stand on the balcony, the storm winds whipping at your cloak, rain stinging your face. You raise your hand, and the lightning answers, splitting the sky with jagged fury. You feel its power surge through you, burning your veins, setting your heart ablaze, and for the first time you wonder, not if you will betray Sidious, but when. Because if you are doomed to be replaced, you will not go quietly. If you are destined to fall, you will drag him with you into the abyss. That is why it sucked to be a Jedi, because even in the Order's blindness, even in their chains, they were never as cruel as this. They did not pretend to love you, only to discard you. They did not whisper promises of destiny, only to hand it to another. They did not call you apprentice, only to call you expendable. You whisper into the storm, your voice drowned by thunder, "I will not be your puppet forever." And though no one answers, though no one hears, the words taste like freedom for the first time in years. Because soon the end will come, and when you kneel for the last time, it will not be to Sidious. It will be to the boy who replaced you, the boy whose fury burns brighter than yours ever did, the boy who was always meant to take your place. Death does not come with the roar of battle. It comes with silence. You feel it the moment the blades cross your throat. A hiss, a tremble, a heat so close to your skin you can smell it singe. Your arms are broken, your sabers stolen, your body kneeling on the cold floor of a ship not your own. Above you, the boy's blue eyes burn hotter than any star, his saber pressed against your neck. His hand trembles, but the voice behind him does not. Sidious speaks from the shadows, calm, merciless, venom dripping from every syllable. Do it. And in that instant, you understand the cruelest truth of your life. You were never meant to rule. You were never meant to inherit. You were never meant to rise. You were meant to serve. And now, you are meant to die. That is why it sucked to be a Jedi. Because you left their chains only to kneel before a master who forged stronger ones. You look up into Skywalker's eyes, and for a moment, you see not the boy. You see Qui-Gon. You see the Padawan you once called brother. The laughter you once trusted, the light you once believed in. You want to speak his name, but the blade at your throat robs you of breath. The silence presses down, heavier than chains, heavier than death itself. You realize you are not afraid of dying. You are afraid of being forgotten. Time slows. You hear the hum of the saber, the rasp of Skywalker's breath, the faint rustle of Sidious shifting behind him. You hear the echoes of your past, the whispers of the council praising restraint, the villagers begging for justice. Qui-Gon's voice calling you brother. You hear it all, overlapping, colliding, tearing at you until there is nothing left but the silence of now. And then, the strike. It is quick, brutal, merciless. The pain sears white hot, flooding your veins like fire. Your body convulses, your breath catches, your eyes widen. You feel the life ripped from you in a single instant. Your hands claw at nothing. Your voice chokes on silence. Your world narrows into black. The last thing you see is not Skywalker's fury, nor Sidious's grin. The last thing you see is yourself, alone, betrayed, forgotten. You fall. The silence swallows you whole. No more whispers, no more fire, no more storm, just emptiness. And in that emptiness, memory floods back one last time. Serenno's forests in the rain, the temple's high halls echoing with chants, Qui-Gon's laughter beneath starlight, the cries of villagers begging for justice, the monster in the mirror staring back. You see it all, flickering like fireflies in the dark, and then it fades. That is why it sucked to be a Jedi, because in the end, all your struggles, all your choices, all your betrayals led here, kneeling before a master who never loved you, dying at the hands of a boy who never knew you. The silence of death is final, and yet it is not. For beyond silence, there is echo, because your death is not the end. The war rages on, the Republic falls, the Empire rises, and though you are gone, your shadow lingers, your story twisting through the lives of those who survive. And long after your silence, the galaxy will whisper still, Dooku. Death was supposed to be silence, but it isn't. You thought the blade would end you, clean, final, absolute, that the fire at your throat would erase you in a single breath, that the cold metal beneath your knees would be the last thing you felt. But beyond that silence comes something else. Not peace, not rest. Echo. The galaxy does not bury you. It remembers you. Whispers of your name stretch across systems like cracks in glass, reaching into chambers of power, into temples of light, into battlefields littered with corpses. They whisper, Dooku. That is why it sucked to be a Jedi, because even in death the Order twists the story. They will not tell it as betrayal. They will not admit you were cast aside, a puppet cut loose by a master who wanted another. They will tell it as justice, as redemption bought by your blood. They will say you were proof of the code's truth, that pride leads only to downfall, that attachment ends in ruin, that darkness is a poison none can wield without being consumed. They will bury you in their sermons and call it wisdom, but the echoes are louder than their sermons. You linger in them. The Confederacy crumbles without your hand to guide it, its leaders squabbling like carrion birds over a corpse. Their voices, once obedient, now bicker and fracture. Some curse your name, blaming you for leading them into ruin. Others mourn you, believing you were their savior stolen too soon. Still others cling to your memory as if invoking Count Dooku could shield them from the shadow that replaced you. Your ghost stalks their counsels, your voice still echoing in their ears even when your body lies broken. In Serenno, the halls of your castle grow cold. The villagers whisper in fear, their fields left untended, their nights restless with dreams of fire. Some still believe you will return, that their count cannot be dead, that no Jedi or Sith could end you. You so easily. Others know the truth, and their fear curdles into anger. Statues rise and fall in your image, banners torn down one day and raised the next. Your world is caught between mourning and denial, between loyalty and hate. The echoes are sharpest there, on the soil where you were born, in the rain-soaked forests where you first felt the storm inside your chest. And in the Jedi Temple, they speak of you in hushed tones, not as brother, not as friend, as warning. Younglings gather in circles while masters preach restraint, whispering your story as cautionary tale. They tell children your hunger consumed you, your ambition betrayed you, your darkness destroyed you. They leave out the part where they drove you into that darkness, where their blindness left you with nowhere else to turn. They call you villain. They call you traitor. They call you Sith. And though you are gone, you can still hear it. Their voices shaping you into something you were not, burying you under their hypocrisy one final time. That is why it sucked to be a Jedi. Because even in memory they never saw you. They only saw what they wanted. But the echoes that matter most do not belong to the Council, or to Serenno, or to the Separatists. They belong to him, Skywalker. You linger in him like a scar, carved into his hand where your blade once cut deep. He remembers the hiss of plasma severing flesh, the taste of blood in his mouth, the roar of your voice in battle. He remembers your strength, your fury, the storm that met his own. He remembers you kneeling before him, broken, defenseless, a reflection of everything he feared becoming. He remembers the words of his master telling him to strike, and the weight of obedience settling into his bones. He remembers your eyes as the blade came down, not fear, not defiance, but recognition. He carries that look with him, the echo of it gnawing at him long after your silence. And when Sidious whispers to him, when the dark coils tighter around his heart, your ghost is there, not as warning, as precedent. You were the proof that masters discard their apprentices. You were the evidence that loyalty means nothing, that destiny is a leash, that power is a trap. Every step Skywalker takes toward the dark, he steps through your shadow. Every choice he makes, he measures against your fall. In betraying you, Sidious carved a lesson into him. This is what will happen to you too. You are the echo that follows him into fire. And so your death is not silence. It is symphony. A chorus of whispers twisting across the galaxy, shaping those who remain, haunting those who rise. Your story bleeds into theirs, a thread in the tapestry of betrayal and war, a shadow that stretches longer than your life ever did. You are gone, and yet you are everywhere. That night in the void beyond death, you find yourself standing once more in the forest of Serenno. The air is damp with rain, the earth soft beneath your boots, the scent of pine sharp in your lungs. You walk among the trees, the wind whispering through the branches like voices. At first, they are faint, Qui-Gon's laughter, the Council's sermons, Sidious's commands. But then, they grow louder. Villagers crying your name, soldiers chanting in battle, senators spitting it in fear, Jedi cursing it as warning, Anakin whispering it in shame. Dooku, Dooku, Dooku. The forest becomes a cathedral of echoes, each tree another voice. Each drop of rain another memory. You try to cover your ears, but the sound is inside you. It always was. And as the storm breaks above the trees, lightning splitting the sky, you understand the truth. You are no longer man, no longer master, no longer count. You are echo. You are warning. You are shadow. That is why it sucked to be a Jedi. Because even in death, you do not get peace. You only get memory. You only get the story others tell in your place. The storm fades, the forest dims, and silence finally returns. Not the silence of death, the silence after echo, when the voices tire and only the void remains. It is heavier than any chain, deeper than any abyss. You step into it, your cloak heavy, your saber gone, your name dissolving into whispers that stretch beyond time. And in that silence, you wait, because you know the galaxy will speak your name again. It always does, because though your story ends here, your shadow does not. You are the echo in Skywalker's fury, the whisper in Sidious's triumph, the scar in the Jedi's memory. You are the reminder of chains, of betrayal, of silence. You are the fallen Count, and long after your death, the galaxy will still whisper your refrain. That's why it sucked to be a Jedi.